Chapter 76. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Bang. Boom. Boom. Looking at the students who were running around in the square but were bound by the slime on the ground and had nowhere to escape, and at the more than a dozen Air Force and Marines who were surrounding Remy from inside and outside but could not capture him after a long time, Professor McGonagall, who was watching the battle on another tower, could not help but smile bitterly. I never thought that weapons in the Muggle world are so powerful. This is just a slime bullet used for pranks. If Remy used real bullets, the consequences would be disastrous. Professor McGonagall sighed. He fought against hundreds of people alone and dealt with nearly 100 of them. What's more important is that the weapon used by Remy is not only capable of exerting such terrifying combat power by him, but anyone who gets it can exert the same power. Even Professor McGonagall couldn't help but gasp at this. Yes. Headmaster Dumbledore nodded. It seems that Nicholas Flamel is right. The wizarding world cannot remain so closed. Otherwise, the gap between the wizarding world and the Muggle world will only grow wider. Can't it be closed anymore? Professor McGonagall was shocked. What do you mean, Albus? Do you and Nicholas Flamel both believe that the wizarding world should be open to Muggles? Professor McGonagall asked. It's not that we need to open it up, but we need to increase exchanges. It depends on Remy. If he can really invent a magical item that can effectively defend against thermal weapons, it won't be too late to talk about opening it up then. Dumbledore said. Remy. Professor McGonagall glanced at Remy, who was throwing grenades crazily in the distance, and shook his head helplessly. I don't think he looks like someone who would invent something defensive. I think he would first invent a magical gun that even Muggles could use, said Professor McGonagall. If he is not guided, I think so. Dumbledore pushed his glasses. That's why we have to guide him well. The magic gloves he invented are very good. According to Filch, Remy is currently trying to mass-produce magic gloves and magic cards. Once successful, the wizarding world will surely be shocked. Remy may even become the greatest wizard in the world. Wouldn't that steal your reputation? Don't you mind? Professor McGonagall asked with a smile. Why should I mind it? If he succeeds, his contribution to the wizarding world will be greater than mine, and it is only natural for him to get that title. Dumbledore said calmly. Okay, but what should we do now? Don't we stop him? If we don't stop him, he will probably become more and more lawless in the future, right? Professor McGonagall asked. Filch told me that Remy's biggest difficulty now is that he doesn't have enough magic crystals. He probably wasted a lot today, and the holiday is coming soon. I have already notified Fudge to bring people here. Let him have fun for a while before Fudge comes. Dumbledore said with a smile. Have you informed Fudge? Professor McGonagall's mind moved. You mean? Dumbledore smiled and nodded. Yes, I plan to let him stay in prison during the holidays, save some magic crystals, and make the magic gloves as soon as possible. Okay, let him have some fun. Hiss, the place bitten by this mosquito is really itchy. Yeah, I don't know if Severus has prepared the antidote yet. I'm afraid not. When I saw him just now, I saw several bloody marks on his neck. It seemed that he scratched himself. His office is in the basement, which is where there are the most mosquitoes. Really? I hope he can prepare an antidote as soon as possible. I can't help but want to scratch them. They're so itchy. A male principal and a female vice principal, two peerless masters, shared their inner desires with each other in a romantic tower. On another tower far away from them, Remy was firing wildly with a submachine gun in each hand, his left hand firing into the sky and his right hand pointing the gun at the stairs. After repelling the enemy's attacks for who knows how many times, Remy finally got a precious chance to catch his breath. There was an expression of dejection on his face that he could hardly conceal, as he realized that he had run out of ammunition. Even if I am surrounded, even if I am the only one left, even if I have very little ammunition left, I will fight to the last moment. I will never surrender. With fighting spirit rekindled in his eyes, Remy took out the last slime grenade and pulled it open resolutely. Come on. If you dare to come up, I will die with you. We will perish together. Remy shouted. Behind the corner of the spiral staircase, a group of seniors who were clinging to the wall were speechless after hearing Remy's words. Why are you pretending to be a hero? You are obviously the villain, okay? We are the righteous side. Martin, throw the quaffle again to disturb him later. Jin, Jace, the two of you use the blazing fire, and make sure to burn all the slime. Don't let the slime get on us. Others use stunning spell or disarming spell. Those who don't know either can use stunning spell. Luther, go inform the team members that at 3:05 sharp, we will launch another charge against Remy together. Clear. Receive. I'll go inform them right away. We must take down Remy this time. This guy is so abominable. After formulating the battle plan, several people continued to wait against the wall, waiting for the time for the general attack. Just when they were on guard against Remy throwing grenades, suddenly, Remy's surprised cry came from above. What the hell? What is this? Remy stared at the ropes wrapped around him with wide eyes in disbelief, totally unable to understand where these ropes came from. But Remy soon knew the answer. The entire tower suddenly transformed into a large ball of wool, instantly binding Remy tightly with only his head sticking out. Then, Dumbledore appeared in front of Remy, holding the arm of a man whom Remy also knew. It was the Minister of Magic Fudge, who Remy had met several times before and had a certain relationship with. Oh, you haven't been arrested yet? I thought you had been impeached and thrown into prison. Remy said. Minister Fudge's face suddenly turned dark, and he thought to himself, how dare you bring this up? Mr. Barrett, the Ministry of Magic is now officially arresting you for endangering public safety by dangerous means and illegal possession of firearms. Come with us. Fudge said coldly. This is not a gun, this is a magic firearm, 200% made in the magic world, said Remy. If you have any objections, you can wait until you get to the court to defend yourself. Now, please cooperate with the Ministry of Magic. As he spoke, Fudge waved his hand, and two aurors on broomsticks landed in front of Remy. They each grabbed a line and took off again with Remy in their hands. Fly to the Ministry of Magic? Isn't that too slow? I suggest that you, the Minister of Magic, take me to the Ministry of Magic by apparition. Remy said. Hearing Remy's words, Fudge's face suddenly became darker. Chapter 77. Ever since Remy was taken away by the Ministry of Magic, Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry has suddenly fallen into an eerie calm. When walking in the castle, one can often see students thinking about life. Especially those students who grew up in the magical world. That night, the scene of Remy unilaterally crushing a group of students with a gun in hand lingered in their minds for a long time and shocked them greatly. Many young wizards seriously thought for the first time about the superiority of wizards over muggles, but this question was too profound for them and they could not think of an answer. Even the advanced students could only vaguely see the answer, but when they tried to grasp it, they could not grasp it. Dullness has become the main theme of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. The only consolation was that after Remy left, the super annoying mosquitoes created by Remy disappeared not long after, which made everyone, including Harry, breathe a sigh of relief. The Weasley twins called it the greatest prank ever perpetrated at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, and even planned to make a statue of Remy and place it in the square where he had fought. But Harry didn't think it was a good idea. As the end of the semester approaches, homework for various subjects is coming in like crazy, and everyone has to bury their heads in homework every day. It seems that nothing has changed. However, one day when I went to Hagrid's cabin to drink tea and relax, Hagrid inadvertently revealed that the things in the vault were related to Nicholas Flamel. This aroused Harry's great interest, and at the same time, he felt an inexplicable sense of urgency. His intuition told him that the person who robbed the vault was most likely related to Voldemort, or even Voldemort himself. Harry wanted to stop him, even though he had no idea how to stop him, but he wanted to investigate, and the breakthrough was Nicholas Flamel. The name Nicholas Flamel sounded very familiar to Harry, but neither he, Hermione nor Ronald searched through all the information they could find and could not find any information related to Nicholas Flamel. It would be great if Remy was here. This Nicholas Flamel must be Remy's teacher. Remy must know about his teacher. Ronald closed the thick alchemy encyclopedia in his hand and said, "This is really weird. Could it be that Nicholas Flamel is not an alchemist? Why is there no clue at all? Maybe he is not an alchemist from Yingguo." Harry scratched his head and looked very distressed. I remember Remy told me that he had stayed in France for a period of time before. Maybe his teacher Nicholas Flamel is from the French magic world. If that's the case, then we're done for. We need to look up celebrities in the European wizarding world, and we may not be able to find them, said Ronald. Yeah, let's take our time looking for it. We have a whole vacation ahead of us. I'll use my invisibility cloak to go to the restricted area tonight to see if I can find any clues. Do you want to come with me? Harry said. How late? If it's too late, I might not be able to get up. But do you really not know who gave you the invisibility cloak on Christmas? Ronald asked. If Remy hadn't gone in, I would have suspected that Remy was playing a prank, but now that he has gone in, it is obvious that he can't give me this gift. Harry rubbed his forehead and said. Yeah, I don't know how he is doing in Azkaban. It must be extremely miserable. I heard from my father that Azkaban is not a place for human beings to stay. Even a person with a strong will suffer a mental breakdown after entering Azkaban. God, I really can't understand what the Ministry of Magic is thinking to lock up an underage student. When Ronald mentioned Azkaban, there was obvious fear on his face, as if he was recalling some bad experience. If you didn't know him, you would think he had been there before. Who knows? But you seem to have forgotten that Remy has been in there once. Wasn't he fine when he came back that time? Harry said. Yeah, I really don't know how he managed to get through it. Ronald said. It doesn't necessarily mean that I can just get through it. Harry said with empty eyes. Although he didn't know what Remy had experienced in Azkaban, and Remy had never talked to him about it, but looking at Remy's spirit after returning, he didn't look like he had been tortured. After dinner, the two went to the library to look up famous European wizards, but still found nothing. After returning to the dormitory in vain, Harry gave Hedwig and Long John some water and food, then washed up and went to bed. It was late at night when he woke up. Looking at Ronald, who was sleeping soundly, Harry hesitated for a moment and did not wake him up. He took out the invisibility cloak he received at Christmas from under the bed, put it on himself and left the dormitory alone. The Hogwarts castle was deserted during the winter vacation, not to mention that it was late at night, with only the cooing of owls coming from outside the window from time to time. Wearing his invisibility cloak and holding a lantern, Harry made his way to the library. The library was not locked. Not only the main door of the library was not locked, but even the door leading to the restricted area was not locked. This made Harry feel relieved, as he did not know how to perform unlocking spells. After successfully entering the restricted area, Harry had to take off his invisibility cloak to make it easier to search for the books on the bookshelf filled with magic books. Putting the lantern aside, Harry picked up a thick spell book. I don't know if it's just Dunch or if all the magic books here are like this. I just picked up a book at random, but I ended up getting a Facebook book. A human face suddenly appeared on the open page of the book, which scared Harry to death. The face also made a shrill scream. Oh no! This might attract Filch. Harry quickly closed the book, thinking something was wrong, and quickly put on his invisibility cloak. Just as Harry was about to get the lantern, a cat's meow suddenly sounded in the quiet library, startling Harry again. Without giving it a second thought, Harry hurriedly fled the scene, but didn't get too far away. He still held out a glimmer of hope, hoping that Filch wouldn't notice anything unusual and that Filch would leave. However, Filch spotted the lantern next to the bookshelf immediately and began searching the surroundings, while his cat, Mrs. Norris, shook her ears and meowed directly towards Harry. His hope was shattered. Harry sighed and hurried away. But the invisibility cloak can only hide his body and not the sounds he makes. Whether it is the subtle sound of his walking, breathing or even heartbeat, they are all pointing Mrs. Norris in the direction. Harry could only retreat again and again, and after getting away from Filch, he ran away as fast as he could, while Mrs. Norris was chasing him from behind. After finally getting rid of Mrs. Norris, Harry sadly found himself lost. After wandering around the castle for a while, a door suddenly caught Harry's attention. As if possessed by some mysterious force, Harry opened the door and walked in. Chapter 78. It was an empty, dusty, decayed room, but it had many windows and did not look like a storage room. There was no debris inside, only an unidentified object covered with grey cloth in the corner. After thinking for a while, Harry walked over and pulled off the cloth. There was no dust on the cloth, but it stirred up a lot of dust when it fell to the ground. Just like seeing a bride with her veil lifted, when the cloth was pulled off, Harry cried out in excitement, tears welling up in his eyes instantly. It was a mirror that looked no different from the mirror on an ordinary wardrobe, except that it looked a little older. But in the mirror, Harry saw his parents, and saw them looking at him lovingly. Dad, Mom. Mumbling, Harry walked to the mirror and put his hand on it, as if he wanted to touch the person in the mirror. Of course he didn't succeed, but the person in the mirror actually reached out and pressed his hand. Although there was only a cold mirror surface when he touched it, looking at the person in the mirror, Harry felt that his hands were unusually warm at this moment. He just stared at it blankly for a long time. It wasn't until a breeze blew that Harry shuddered and tightened his clothes to come back to his senses. With one more glance in the mirror, Harry put on his invisibility cloak and left the room. He was going back to the dormitory. He couldn't wait to share this great discovery with his friends and share his joy. In case he lost his way back, Harry even marked every corner. After going around in circles, they finally returned to the dormitory. Harry shook Ronald hard to wake him up despite the fact that he was sleeping soundly. Then, he pulled Ronald and ran away amid Ronald's puzzled complaints. In his haste, he even forgot to put on his invisibility cloak. Luckily they didn't run into Filch on the way. They returned to the room smoothly. To Harry's surprise, Ronald did not see his parents in the mirror. Ronald said he saw himself becoming the captain of the Gryffindor Quidditch team, and becoming a Gryffindor prefect, and also said he led Gryffindor to win the House Cup. This puzzled Harry greatly. He did not understand why the images the two saw were so different. He had wanted to share his joy of meeting his parents with Ronald and introduce his parents to Ronald, but now it seems impossible because Ronald can't see them at all. But seeing that Ronald seemed very happy with what he saw, Harry did not disturb him. He just quietly looked at his parents in the mirror, just as his parents in the mirror were also looking at him affectionately. Ever since he accidentally discovered the mirror that night, Harry has changed. He no longer thinks about the treasures in the vault, Nicholas Flamel, Voldemort and other trivial things. He just wants to stay by the mirror every day and spend more time with his parents. Ronald said that Harry's condition was not right and very dangerous, and advised Harry not to go again. Harry agreed, but every night he would sneak out of the dormitory and go to the room alone. That night, Harry came to the mirror wearing an invisibility cloak as he did in the previous few days. The originally dusty floor had already been cleaned by him. He sat in front of the mirror and stared at it blankly. Suddenly, an inopportune voice sounded from behind him, scaring him so much that he jumped up instantly. "It seems you have discovered the joys of the Mirror of East, Harry." "Principal Dumbledore?" "Remy." Harry turned around and his eyes widened. "You're out of prison again." "Yeah, why, are you disappointed?" Remy said, half leaning on a long stick. "How could that be?" "I'm so happy to see you back," said Harry. "How happy are you?" Remy tilted his head. "Are you happier to see me or to watch the Mirror of East indulge in the virtual world?" "The Mirror of East?" Harry looked from Remy to Dumbledore. "I saw my parents in the mirror, but when I brought Ronald here, during the day, of course, he saw something very different from me." "So, what special power does this magic mirror have?" Harry asked. "You already have a rough answer in your mind, don't you?" Remy said with a smile. "The Mirror of East is an outstanding alchemical product from ancient times. It allows anyone who looks into the mirror to see their deepest desires." "Inner desire?" Harry's eyes dimmed. Just as Remy said, he had actually guessed something a long time ago, but he just didn't want to face the answer. "So what about you, what did you see? What do you desire?" Harry asked, changing the subject. "I saw I received a for Christmas. I long for Naoko." Dumbledore was so shocked that he almost gasped. After receiving a glare from Dumbledore, Remy shrugged. "It was just a joke, but I was actually looking at myself." "Yourself?" Harry asked. Dumbledore was also stunned. "Yes, myself." Remy nodded and said, "I don't have anything I desire. Of course, I do have my own goals and wishes, but I am a realist. I will do what I want to achieve instead of just daydreaming." Although the Mirror of East can reflect the inner desires of the person looking in the mirror, what it can reflect are unrealistic fantasies, or empty fantasies that are only thought about but not acted upon, Remy explained. "An unrealistic fantasy? Is it just an empty fantasy that you want to think about but don't do?" Harry and Dumbledore were both stunned, and then they sighed at the same time. "By the way, Principal Dumbledore, you haven't finished speaking yet. What did you see?" Remy asked. Dumbledore came to his senses. "I see I received a pair of wool socks for Christmas. No one ever gives me socks. People always give me books. No one asks me whether I am cold or warm, and no one stands with me at dusk." Remy said, "It seems that what you, Headmaster Dumbledore, long for is family affection. My teacher told me about your past and the complicated relationships. I heard that it is still unknown who caused your sister's death." Dumbledore's mouth twitched, thinking that Nicholas Flamel was really unreliable for telling Remy all those things. Sighing, Dumbledore nodded helplessly, "Yes, I have been blaming myself ever since my sister died. I loved her deeply, but she left me long ago. SS. Remy's eyes suddenly burst into two bright lights. Are you deeply in love with your sister? Remy asked. Yes. No wonder you're still single. Ah. Dumbledore sighed heavily. Yes, after what happened I can't forgive myself, nor can I face him. What is there to be afraid of? People should live in the present and look to the future, but they should not dwell on the past. As he spoke, Remy pulled out a strand of his hair and used alchemy to create a guitar. Let me sing you a song. Chapter 79. Under the puzzled and expectant gazes of Dumbledore and Harry, Remy cleared his throat and began to sing with the brisk sound of guitar. Meeting another taboo brings a new excitement. Relationships change, but the love remains the same. True love is everywhere. The door of orthopedics is always open to welcome brothers and sisters. Repair the fracture and keep the love. You will never leave each other no matter how others doubt you. Please don't give up. We have made an appointment to be together and we bless you. When Remy sang the lyrics to the tune of Welcome to the North Crystal, Dumbledore squinted his eyes and tried to enjoy the music at first, but when he heard Remy sing Brothers and Sisters, Welcome, Dumbledore suddenly widened his eyes and looked at Remy in disbelief. He felt that Remy might have misunderstood something. Dumbledore moved his lips slightly and hesitated for a moment before deciding that it would be better not to interrupt Remy's singing. On the one hand, it was impolite to interrupt, on the other hand, it was just a misunderstanding. Compared to a misunderstanding, the truth of the matter was even more difficult for Dumbledore to tell, at least in front of two students, Remy and Harry. Sighing, Dumbledore heard Remy continue to sing. The orthopedic department has planted evergreens and witnessed many miracles. Escort the forbidden love and leave you with memories. Strangers and friends are all patients. Please don't be polite. It doesn't matter how many times you come, there are too many topics to talk about. Orthopedics welcomes you to dispel your concerns. The ward is full of poetry and painting. Orthopedics welcomes you to share your breath on the bed. We believe that true love is invincible. Is true love invincible? Dumbledore heaved a sigh of relief and suddenly felt that the song seemed to be quite well written. Although the theme had nothing to do with him, the content made him feel somewhat relatable. More importantly, he felt inspired. Pa pa pa! Dumbledore clapped his hands. Very good song. Who wrote this song? Who created it? Remy blinked. Stars. The Stars? Is that a group? I must visit them if I have the chance. Dumbledore said. Remy smiled and said nothing, thinking to himself, if you can find the other person, I lose. You should know that Kungsing is known as the most mysterious and talented person among flower growers, together with Anonymous. No one knows who they are, and no one can find them. Harry, who was standing by, was listening to the two people chatting with an awkward look on his face. He felt that he should not be in the room, he should be at the bottom of the room. He felt like he should say something, but he didn't know what to say. After hesitating for a moment, Harry decided to change the subject. By the way, Remy, how were you released? Was it because of the Underage Wizarding Protection Act? Harry asked. Remy made such a big fuss, but he was released so soon. Harry thought this was a little unusual. According to Ronald, no one in Azkaban had been released yet. I guess so. Remy curled his lips. I originally thought I would be imprisoned in Azkaban, and was still thinking about playing with Dementors, but who would have thought that BD Fudge would actually lock me up in the detention room of the Ministry of Magic and send someone to watch me 24 hours a day, so that I can't do anything. It turns out he wasn't imprisoned in Azkaban. Harry suddenly realized. But what does the regret and indignation on your face mean? Do you really want to be imprisoned in Azkaban? After being locked up for a while, I was so bored that I had no choice but to hand over the insecticide that killed super mosquitoes in order to get a reduction in sentence. I also paid a large sum of money to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Principal Dumbledore didn't speak for me, at least he could have reduced the sentence a little. Remy said indignantly. Are you short of money? Dumbledore pushed up his glasses and said with a smile, some parts of Hogwarts Castle need to be renovated, and your compensation is just right. Why do you have to compensate Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry? You didn't destroy anything this time. Harry asked, puzzled. It is said that it disrupted the public order of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, delayed students' studies, and caused serious psychological and physical harm to students and professors, more than a dozen random reasons. Remy said helplessly. Recalling the pain he felt after being bitten before, Harry nodded silently, thinking that it was indeed a great torture. It deserves punishment, and it's a good punishment. Okay, but who asked you to make that kind of mosquito? I really don't know what you were thinking. What good will it do you to make that kind of thing? Harry said. Because, it's fun. As a human being, the most important thing is to be happy. Remy shook her hair. People can do different things at different ages, just like rolling on the grass in public. If a child does this, there is definitely no problem, and others will just say that the child is cute, but if an adult does this, others will definitely look at him with strange eyes. There are some ridiculous things that you can no longer do once you are too old, so I want to do all the things I want to do but won't be able to do in the future while I am still young. Even if some things may seem a little childish to elementary school students, they are just right for me as a college student. Because only when you lose something will you know how to cherish it. They don't know that the childish things they can do at any time are actually regrets that many people will never be able to do again. At this point, looking at Harry who looked confused, Remy hesitated. You too, do more of the things you want to do, don't leave any regrets for your future self, and don't indulge in the illusions brought about by the mirror of Arist all day long. You said you saw your parents, so have you ever thought that your parents would like to see you staring at them all day long without doing anything? Don't forget that your parents are both students of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. If I were you, I would walk around the school and look for traces of their time there. There might even be gifts they left somewhere. For example, a windowsill may seem ordinary at first glance, but perhaps your parents once admired the scenery outside the window there together. Don't you want to see the scenery your parents once saw? People today cannot see the moon of the past, but this moon once shone on the ancients. Dumbledore looked at Remy in surprise, as if he didn't expect Remy to be able to say such philosophical words. Harry was stunned for a moment, then nodded vigorously and looked at Dumbledore. I want to see it. Dumbledore nodded. You can ask Professor McGonagall tomorrow. Both your parents are her students. Now, you should go back and rest. Harry nodded, and looked back at the mirror of Arist one last time. He clenched his fists, as if he had made a decision. Leaving the room, Harry returned to the dormitory with Remy. On the way, Harry suddenly became curious about the long stick that Remy had been holding. This black stick was estimated to be nearly 2 meters long and appeared to be made of some kind of wood. By the way, Remy, what is that stick in your hand for? Is it a new invention? Harry asked. You mean this? Remy lifted the stick and danced with it. This is a wand I made for myself. It's perfect for using a stunning spell. Harry. Are you sure that the casting you are talking about is the same as the casting I understand? Chapter 80. Maybe it was because he received too much information that night, or maybe he was really sleepy. Harry fell asleep as soon as he returned to the dormitory. Remy also went to bed after checking the Long John's and Hedwig's sink. The next morning, Remy slept until noon. After washing up, he carried his wand and saw Harry and Ronald playing chess in the restaurant. Oh, you're finally here. We've been waiting for you for a long time. Ronald said. Wait for me to eat? Remy asked. No, I want to see your wand. Are you sure it can really cast spells? Ronald said, staring at Remy's wand. Even if it can't cast spells, I can still use it to defeat you, believe it or not. Remy said. I definitely believe this. If you hit me on the head with it, I will definitely pass out, Ronald said. Handing the wand to Ronald to play with, Remy went to the house elf to order 2 burgers, 1 beef and 1 chicken, and also ordered a cup of hot cocoa. The house elf was very fast. As soon as Remy walked to the seat next to Ronald and sat down, the house elf brought the food. By the way, Remy, is your teacher called Nicholas Flamel? Harry asked after Remy finished a burger and took a sip from his cup. Yeah, what's wrong? Remy asked. Well, we heard the name from Hagrid, so we wanted to find out what's in the vault based on the name. Do you know? Harry asked. Why do you insist on keeping on with this matter? Remy asked curiously. Harry chuckled. You said yesterday that you should do everything you want to do while you are young, and don't leave any regrets for your future self. Remy nodded. That's exactly what I said, but I want to know why you are interested in this. Because I always feel that the person who broke into the vault may be related to Voldemort, or even Voldemort himself, said Harry. Well, although I don't understand why you concluded that it was Voldemort who did it without knowing what was inside, but since you have found out so much, it doesn't hurt to tell you. Remy shrugged and took the wand that Ronald returned. My teacher is the greatest alchemist. The vault contains the Philosopher's Stone, which can turn stone into gold and can also be used to make the elixir of life, said Remy. Elixir of immortality. A stone-hewn tycoon. Harry and Ronald opened their eyes wide and exclaimed at the same time, but their focus was completely different. It must be this. Harry said excitedly, the elixir of immortality. This must be what Voldemort wants. He must have been seriously hurt after disappearing for so long. Maybe it was caused by my parents. He must want to get the Philosopher's Stone to heal his injuries now. Oh, you know what, even though the process was completely wrong, the result was guessed quite accurately. Remy raised an eyebrow, thinking that Harry would be good at math. Although he didn't get any process points, his answer was correct. And there was also the process of solving the problem. Maybe the examiner was too old and his eyes were blurry and he counted all the answers as correct. But why would your teacher give such a precious thing to Headmaster Dumbledore? Could it be that Dumbledore also wanted? Oh, he seems to be very old. Ronald said. I don't know about that, but you don't need to worry so much about the safety of the Philosopher's Stone. With the strength of that little jerk, he wouldn't be able to snatch things from my teacher even in his prime. Remy said. But the Philosopher's Stone is not in your teacher's hands now. Ronald said. But it's in the hands of Headmaster Dumbledore. Remy said, Headmaster Dumbledore's attainments in magic are even greater than my teacher's, and Headmaster Dumbledore has defeated Voldemort before, and there is a real record. Ronald nodded, then suddenly frowned again. Do you think it's possible that Voldemort was hiding because he couldn't defeat Headmaster Dumbledore, intending to wear him down? Of course, maybe he was injured too. I mean, he hid for 2 reasons instead of just 1. Ronald said. Remy shook his head speechlessly, thinking that if Voldemort had this much forbearance, he would have successfully ruled the wizarding world long ago, and would not have ended up like this. But Harry's pupil shrank suddenly after hearing Ronald's words. Yes. That must be it. With a loud slap on the table, Harry stood up excitedly. Principal Dumbledore must have noticed Voldemort's plot, so he asked Nicholas Flamel for the Philosopher's Stone to make an elixir of immortality to slow down his own aging. Voldemort may have also sensed Dumbledore's intention, so he may not have stolen the Philosopher's Stone to heal himself. It is very likely that his injuries have already healed. He wanted to prevent Headmaster Dumbledore from extending his life. Remy. It's so sweet that it makes you sweeter? After complaining a few sweet words with a very high sugar content in his heart, Remy lowered his head speechlessly and continued to eat. As he ate, he listened to Harry and Ronald having a heated discussion along a path he had not expected. It is very likely that Voldemort was not injured. He just felt that he could not beat Dumbledore, so he took the initiative to endure it. What Voldemort is now most likely in his prime, plotting a shocking conspiracy. Now Dumbledore is in the light and Voldemort is in the dark. The situation is very unfavorable for Dumbledore. It was a mess, and Remy even doubted whether Harry and Ronald were just bragging about Voldemort. After all, even the most fanatical Death Eater wouldn't dare to brag about Voldemort like that, right? Judging from the image of Voldemort that they described, even the real Voldemort would be stunned after hearing it. Maybe he would even shed tears of gratitude and reward them each with a big watermelon. After dinner, the two went straight into the library to look up the life of Nicholas Flamel and detailed information about the Philosopher's Stone. It's not that Remy didn't want to tell them, but Remy didn't have enough knowledge about the Philosopher's Stone. He used to just play with it like a walnut and didn't study it in depth. Nicholas Flamel didn't let him play around. As for Nicholas Flamel's life, Remy knew even less about it. He only liked to read unofficial history and anecdotes, and never read serious history books or biographies. Remy didn't go to the library with Harry and Ronald either. He had a lot to do recently. So far, apart from making a bunch of small toys for pranks, he has not yet made the serious invention he really wants to make. Seeing that half a year had passed, Remy felt a sense of urgency. Before the end of the first grade, we must mass-produce magic gloves and magic cards. The first batch of magic guns must be mass-produced before the 3rd grade. I have to prove my strength. Putting some pressure on himself, Remy picked up a pen and paper and began to plan the props needed for mass production. Chapter 81. After the new semester started, Harry's days did not become easier. Instead, they were even busier than before the holiday. Because the next Quidditch match is about to begin, the next one is against Hufflepuff House. As long as Gryffindor can win this game, the total points will surpass Slytherin House and win the House Cup. Gryffindor hadn't won the House Cup for 7 years, and everyone was training very hard. Even though Hufflepuff's team was always at the bottom of the league, the lion would still use all its strength to fight the rabbit, not to mention the badger, which was much stronger than the rabbit. Maybe it's just a flat-headed badger in sheep's clothing. Remy was even busier than Harry. His magic gloves had already been made successfully, and the next thing he needed to do was to find a way to mass-produce them. If there is no profit, mass production will be meaningless. Therefore, Remy must do everything possible to cut costs. Mass production involves not only cost issues, but also subsequent upgrade issues. If a product is perfect when it is launched, it will become a one-time deal and there will be no way to continue to reap the profits. Therefore, Remy also needs to castrate the functions of the existing samples to buy himself enough time for subsequent research and development, so that he can continue to launch different versions of the magic gloves and continue to reap profits. In addition to working on the magic gloves, Remy also plans to castrate the magic cards. It is not convenient to castrate the function, but the durability can be castrated. Originally, a magic card could be used for a lifetime as long as it was properly preserved, but Remy planned to modify it so that it would become scrapped after being used 30 times. In this way, if you want to continue using the magic gloves, you need to continue to buy magic cards, which is very unscrupulous. In addition to the product itself, Remy also needs to design and manufacture machines for making magic gloves and magic cards. Mass production, mass production. If Remy needs to use alchemy himself to make it every time, what kind of mass production is that? Remy roughly calculated that after adding up all the factors, he needed to manufacture nearly 100 parts. This was a huge project that would keep him busy for half a year. It may not even be finished. Compared to the alchemy business that made Remy frown, the new semester's courses made Remy very happy. He can finally perform real magic in its entirety. Although the effect was still a bit excessive, it no longer failed halfway through. When Remy used his wand to perform transfiguration for the first time in class, not only his classmates, but even Professor McGonagall did not believe that the fire stick in Remy's hand was a wand. He even said that if Remy could not use this fire stick to perform magic, he would deduct points from him. However, Remy not only used that fire stick to perform magic, but the magic was very powerful. This put Remy at the center of public opinion once again, and the alternative magic wand he owned became more and more legendary, with many people even believing that it was more powerful than the most powerful magic wand in the legend. But in fact, this magic wand is indeed very powerful. This magic wand was designed and made by Remy himself, and the original intention was naturally to solve his own dilemma of not having a magic wand. During the initial experiment, after consuming 20 magic wands, Remy determined that the defect of ordinary magic wands was in the core. Whether it was the dragon nerves, phoenix tail feathers or unicorn tail hair, they were too thin and could not withstand excessive magic power. So Remy's idea for improvement was very simple: big force makes bricks fly. Since the cores of ordinary magic wands are too thin to withstand excessive amounts of magic power, wouldn't it be enough to make them thicker and stronger? The size of natural materials is limited by the objective laws of nature. Ollivander does not have the ability to perfectly blend multiple raw materials together, so he can only compromise on the size of the wand core and the final performance of the wand. But Remy has no such concerns. He has the ability to blend multiple raw materials together perfectly. Initially, Remy just made the wand thicker and stronger. The improved wand can indeed withstand excessive magic power, but the appearance is just. As a magic wand, it is not okay for it to be just thick but short. Absolutely not. So Remy disassembled 10 more wands, analyzed the proportions of their various parts, and finally made this 1.7 meter long super long wand. The material of the magic wand core is also very exquisite. Remy uses a mixed core made of 4 materials: phoenix tail feathers, dragon nerves, unicorn tail hair, and thestral tail feathers. It may seem incredible at first, but Remy actually conducted a theoretical analysis before the experiment. The phoenix can be reborn from the ashes, representing life. The thestrals can only be seen by those who have witnessed death, and they represent death. The dragon has great power but is often destructive and is an evil creature, while the unicorn is the most holy creature. It is impossible to combine the materials of the two opposing groups of magical creatures using the black and white bipolar thinking, and it is not even worth thinking about. But Remy believes in mutual growth and mutual restraint. The dragon, phoenix, thestral, and unicorn not only counteract each other, but also promote each other. The phoenix's nirvana is first death and then rebirth. The thestrals are first alive, and then seen by someone who has witnessed their death, that is, they are alive first and then die. The commonality between the phoenix and the thestral can be called the cycle of life and death. Although the dragon is a powerful, destructive, and evil creature, it is full of treasures and can take whatever it wants. As long as it is strong enough, it can get raw materials in any way it wants. It is very generous. Although the unicorn is known as the most holy creature, it is very stingy and will not give a penny. Not only will you be cursed if you drink its blood, but you will also be cursed if you wait for its tail hair to fall off naturally before you can collect it to make a magic wand. The commonality between dragons and unicorns can be called a misnomer. At the same time, unicorns and thestrals are both horse-shaped magical creatures, while dragons and phoenixes are both fire magical creatures that are very good at fighting and can use fire. Although they are in serious opposition to each other, they do not lack commonalities, just like the four symbols that promote and restrain each other. Therefore, Remy very boldly combined them together, and even the material ratio was very simple and direct 1:1:1:1. As a result, he really refined a blended oil, a blending wand core. Compared with the complex core of the staff, Remy's choice of material for the staff body was more casual. He used ebony, but refined it again to reinforce it and reduce its weight. The ebony wood, which is very hard in itself, is not only harder after being processed by Remy, but its weight is also greatly reduced, so it is not too tiring to swing. Even Headmaster Dumbledore praised this wand, but he was not used to holding the wand with both hands to cast spells, which made him look a little funny when using it. The only drawback is that its surface is not shiny and looks a bit rough. It needs someone to take care of it. Chapter 82. When they heard that Snape would be the referee of the next Quidditch match, Harry and Ronald became a little annoyed. They were worried that Snape would make things difficult for them and deliberately decide that Gryffindor would lose. However, in fact, Gryffindor not only won the game, but also set a new record for the fastest game ending. Harry caught the golden snitch just 3 minutes after the start. The game was over before either team even scored a goal. This made Remy, who took time out of his busy schedule to watch the game, feel unlucky, because the time he spent watching the game was far less than the time he spent on the journey. The game was over and it was still early in the semester. Bored and restless, Harry, after recovering from the joy of his Quidditch victory, once again focused on the Philosopher's Stone. Almost every day he discussed the safety of the Philosopher's Stone with Remy and Ronald, and what Remy couldn't understand was that he had identified Snape as the suspect. Snape was not injured on Halloween, and he did not cast any spells on the Quidditch field, but Harry still thought Snape was a suspect. The reason was simply that Snape was once a Death Eater and had always been targeting Gryffindor College. Harry thought this was proof enough that Snape had not changed his evil intentions. Harry, can you please use your brain a little more? Although I don't like Snape either, because he deducted my marks randomly, he has been a professor at Hogwarts for many years. Now you find out that he is a person with ulterior motives as soon as you come. How come you are so much better than Headmaster Dumbledore? Or do you think Headmaster Dumbledore is an old fool? Remy asked. Harry was choked and stammered for a long time without saying a word. Ronald, who was the most dissatisfied with Snape, was immediately unhappy when he heard Remy say that. He felt that Remy was making excuses for Snape. Who else could it be if not Snape? Could it be that our speculation is wrong, and the you-know-who or his men never entered Hogwarts? Ronald asked. If you have to single out a suspect, why don't you suspect Professor Quirrell? Remy said playfully as he twirled his wand. Professor Quirrell? Harry and Ronald thought about it for a moment, looked at each other and then looked at each other. It's impossible that Professor Quirrell is here? Isn't he a joke in school? He doesn't know anything and can't even explain the knowledge in the textbooks clearly. He can't deal with the trolls. How could such a person be a subordinate of the mysterious man? Ronald said. Bang! Remy snapped his fingers. This is exactly the problem. Don't you find it strange? Remy asked. What's weird? Harry asked. You should have heard about it, right? Voldemort once cast a curse on the position of defense against the dark arts professor at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, which resulted in no one daring to apply for the position, and even if they did apply, they would not work for more than a year. Remy said. Harry and Ronald nodded. They had certainly heard of this legend, but they didn't take it seriously. After all, they were students, not teachers. So why would a good-for-nothing like Professor Quirrell apply for such a dangerous position? Remy asked. Hey! Blind monk, you found the flower shop. Harry and Ronald's eyes lit up and they both reacted at the same time. Oh, right, why did Professor Quirrell come to Hogwarts to be the professor of defense against the dark arts? He doesn't look like someone who is short of money. Ronald said. Professor Quirrell, he should have been a student of Hogwarts before, right? If so, it shouldn't be so bad to graduate from Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, right? Harry asked. Of course. He is pretending. This guy definitely has other intentions. Ronald said. Harry nodded vigorously. Let's ask Professor McGonagall and Professor Flitwick later. I don't think Professor Quirrell is that simple. Seeing that Harry and Ronald were easily brainwashed by him and changed their targets, Remy couldn't believe it for a moment. But it's a good thing after all. Remy is looking forward to whether Harry can get to the bottom of the matter, whether he can truly become a reasoning expert. Because of his interest, Remy even accompanied Harry and Ronald to find Professor Flitwick and Professor McGonagall to inquire about Professor Quirrell's situation. After questioning, the two professors had surprisingly consistent evaluations of Quirrell and both felt sorry for Professor Quirrell. According to the two professors, Quirrell was originally an excellent student with very good theoretical and practical performance. During his school years, he even took a year off to do experiments and went to Romania to obtain first-hand information. He is a master in both theory and practice. Both professors felt it was a pity that such an outstanding graduate of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry had now become such a horrible state. But Harry and Ronald were extremely excited after hearing about it. It must be him. There's definitely something wrong with him. Harry said excitedly on the way back to the dorm. What reason could make an excellent wizard suddenly become incompetent? Even if he was injured, it is impossible for him to forget all the theoretical knowledge. Harry said. Ronald nodded vigorously. Yes, the decline in strength can be said to be due to injuries, and his personality can also be said to have suffered a serious blow, but his memory is fine. How could he not be able to teach the knowledge in the book? We must keep a close eye on Professor Quirrell and find out what he is trying to do, whether it is for the Philosopher's Stone, said Harry. Just as Harry and Ronald were discussing how to arrange the surveillance plan, Hagrid happened to come from another passage, and the four of them met at the intersection. Hi, Hagrid, why are you here? Ronald asked. Hagrid is a forest ranger, and normally he would not enter the castle. Of course, the castle did not prohibit Hagrid from entering, it was just that he lived a little far away. Oh, I just went to the library to check out some books. What were you discussing? I heard you seemed to be talking about Professor Quirrell, is that right? Hagrid asked. Harry, Ronald, and Remy looked at each other, and confusion appeared in their eyes. Hagrid, library, reading? Can these three words really be put together? And we were just chatting casually. Hagrid, what's that behind you? Harry asked, glancing at Hagrid's left hand that was awkwardly protected behind his back. Ah? Oh, nothing, I just have a little, waist pain, my waist hurts a little. I won't chat with you anymore, I just looked up the potion for treating waist pain, and I have to go back to brew the potion now. Bye, you guys continue chatting. Hagrid said. The reason was perfect, but it was not difficult to tell from the crazy look in his eyes when he spoke that he was definitely lying. Do you think Hagrid's abnormality may be related to the Philosopher's Stone? Ronald asked. Maybe. Let's go and see. Chapter 83. Hagrid was very large, which made it very easy for the three to follow him. They didn't even need to follow him specifically, they could just look out the window and see where Hagrid was going when he left the castle. Looking at the direction Hagrid is heading, he should be going back to his cabin. I don't think we need to follow him. Since we don't have classes right now, we can just go visit him directly. Harry said. Good idea, I think it will scare him when we knock on the door, said Remy. That's for sure, let's go. Leaving the castle, the three of them headed to Hagrid's cabin. On the way, Remy saw the red squirrel again. It had been a while since they last saw it. The squirrel seemed very enthusiastic and kept jumping around Remy. Its fur is brighter and redder, and its eyes appear more lively and energetic. Remy joked that it might be a distant relative of the Weasleys, causing Ronald to roll his eyes. After playing with the red squirrel for a while and giving it a few magic crystals, the three of them continued on their journey. By the way, where is Hermione? I haven't seen her after class recently. What is she busy with? Remy asked. What else can I do? I'm busy preparing for the exam. Harry said. Preparing for an exam? What exam? It's the final exam. Aren't there still early days for the final exams? Yeah, but Hermione doesn't think so. Maybe this is the difference between the top students and us. So how are you doing in school? You can copy homework, but what will you do during the exams? Isn't this easy? Just cheat. Harry. Ronald. Glancing at Remy speechlessly, Harry thought about it and gave up lecturing Remy, because he wanted to cheat too. They walked and talked along the way, and soon the three of them arrived near Hagrid's cabin. Something seemed very wrong with Hagrid's cabin today. It was broad daylight, and there was no rain, snow, or strong wind, but the doors and windows of the cabin were all tightly closed. You know, normally Hagrid wouldn't close the windows even when he went out, but now that he's back, the doors and windows are still tightly closed. There is a problem at first glance. The three of them looked at each other. Harry took a deep breath, walked to the door and knocked. Hagrid's slightly panicked voice soon came from inside. Who is it? Hagrid asked. Harry said nothing, but knocked again. Coming right up. Through the door, the three of them could clearly hear the sound of ping-pong balls coming from inside. After a while, a heavy footsteps came in and the door. Bang! Ouch! Seeing Harry being slapped away by the door in an instant, Remy looked at Hagrid with a forced smile. Hagrid, have you considered changing to an inward opening door? The current one is a bit inconvenient for visitors. Are you a visitor? Hagrid showed a puzzled expression. It seemed to be Harry's voice just now. Where did he hide? I'm here. As he said that, Harry walked out of the door, holding his nose. At this moment, not only did his nose turn red, but his body was also covered in dust. It was obvious that what he had just experienced was not good. Oh, why are you so dirty? Are you trying to scare me by hiding behind the door? Hagrid asked. Harry. Ronald and Remy couldn't help laughing out loud, which made Hagrid even more confused. Not knowing what was going on, he scratched his head and started laughing too. Okay, come in, it's still quite cold outside. Hagrid said. Following Hagrid into the house, I was greeted by a wave of heat, which formed a stark contrast with the cold outside. Not only was it hot and stuffy, but Hagrid had been boiling a pot of water on the stove for who knows how long. The air above the room was full of steam, and from time to time condensed water droplets dripped from above. Like a sauna. Would you like anything to eat? Hagrid asked. No, thank you. We just had dinner. Then have some tea. With that, Hagrid walked to the stove and picked up the kettle to pour tea. Harry didn't know if it was an illusion, but he always felt that Hagrid seemed to be deliberately blocking the stove, which made him even more curious. While Hagrid turned to hand Remy the tea, Harry craned his neck to look at the stove. This time, he really discovered something unusual. Hagrid, what did you put in the oven? An egg? Is this some special cooking method? Harry asked. Before Hagrid could speak, Remy suddenly became excited. He hadn't reacted before, but now he remembered. If I'm not mistaken, Hagrid must have obtained a dragon egg. Where is it? Let me see. Remy said as he stood up. Hagrid looked conflicted, but finally sighed and gave way. Okay, come and take a look, but don't get too close, or you'll scare it, said Hagrid. The three of them nodded repeatedly, but their bodies all moved closer to the stove. It's okay to roast it in the fire? Could it be a dragon egg? Ronald asked. Hagrid nodded. Yes, it is a dragon egg. That's great. Remy said, I've never eaten a dragon egg before. How are you going to cook it? Salt and pepper or hot and spicy? Remy asked. Hagrid's eyes fixed and he quickly used his body to push Remy aside and block Remy's sight. Oh, Remy, this is not for eating, I want to hatch it, said Hagrid. It doesn't taste good after it's hatched. Dragon meat is very tough and has a weird smell, said Remy. No, I'm not coming here to eat it. I want to be its mother. Hagrid said somewhat unhappily. Looking at Hagrid's expression, Remy felt that it was a bit impolite to talk about food in front of a male mother who liked to raise magical animals. Okay, sorry, I just said something out of turn, but where are you from? Oh, never mind, just pretend I didn't say anything. Sighing, Remy returned to his seat and sat down again. A dragon egg that couldn't be eaten or even discussed how to cook had no appeal to him. Next to him, Ronald asked Hagrid the question that Remy had not finished asking Hagrid how he obtained the dragon egg, and also gave Hagrid some legal advice. Remy, who was sitting nearby, couldn't control his thoughts. He was wondering how he could get a dragon egg to taste. Dragons are not companions of humans. Dragon blood, dragon meat, and dragon liver are sold in Diagon Alley. Even people who particularly like dragons will occasionally buy raw materials from dragons in order to prepare potions or do experiments. In other words, in theory there is no moral problem with eating dragon eggs. But the problem is that dragons are protected and controlled creatures. Not only do they basically live in protected areas, but the people responsible for guarding the protected areas are also people who like dragons. Wanting to get dragon eggs from them is not only wishful thinking, but also a foolish dream. Not to mention that if they knew he took the dragon eggs to eat, they would probably chase him thousands of miles away. It seems we still have to find a way from the black market. What's the name of the commercial street next to Diagon Alley? We can go check it out later. Chapter 84. During the chat, Hagrid told the three about how he obtained the dragon egg. It was similar to what Remy remembered, and he still lost it to a mysterious man in a bet. But the strange thing is that dragon eggs are rare items, and Remy can't figure out where Quirrell got them. If it's a dead egg, that's not a big deal, maybe it was obtained by Quirrell before. A living dragon egg that can hatch a dragon must have been obtained recently, but Quirrell usually does not leave Hogwarts Castle. Could it be that he found out about Hagrid's hobbies and got a dragon egg in just one holiday? If this is true, this business ability can definitely crush 99.999% of wizards. If only I had such a capable assistant. Remy thought with a slightly sour taste. He would definitely open a store once the magic gloves were mass-produced, but he was a student now and it was impossible for him to run the store in Diagon Alley all day. If his products were only for students, he could just open for business during holidays, but his products were not only not for students, they were not even for students at all. Until leaving Hagrid's cabin, Remy was still daydreaming about the issue of acting store manager. It would be nice if the soul bullet could talk. With its shape, it should attract a lot of customers. Its IQ is also not a problem. What a pity. It's only suitable as a mascot to attract business. The real person in charge should be a friendly person. It's not just about affinity, but also about having a strong interest in Muggle items. After all, I'll have to put a lot of products based on Muggle items on the shelves in the future, and it will be troublesome to change the store manager by then. It would be best if they were strong enough to control the situation, to prevent any dark wizards from causing trouble. Remy kept thinking about the issue of selecting the store manager. The more he thought about it, the more he looked at Ronald. That look made Ronald feel uneasy. What are you doing? Why are you staring at me like that? Ronald asked, shrinking his neck. Your sister, no, is it your mother who has a job? Remy asked. My mother? My mother is a full-time housewife. She is busy enough with housework, especially during holidays. After all, we have a big family. What's wrong? Ronald asked. Didn't your mother ever look for a job? Remy asked. Why haven't you looked for one? Ronald shook his head. It's just that even the Ministry of Magic is busier during the student holidays, and my mother has to take care of us, so she can't balance work and family at the same time. My mother has complained to my father about this more than once. She said that if she went to work, she would definitely be promoted faster than my father, and then she could get more salary, and our family wouldn't have to be so, well, you know. Oh no. Remy's eyes suddenly lit up. Do you want to find a job, but you can't spare the energy to take care of your family? But the store manager he needs is someone who can help him look after the store during non-holiday periods. This is just the right amount of sweet. And Ronald's mother, Molly Weasley, perfectly meets all of Remy's requirements. She is not only very friendly, but also very powerful. In Remy's memory, Molly and Professor McGonagall are the two strongest female wizards. Molly's record is even better. She killed Bella. It's not just defeating, it's killing. That's great. Remy patted Ronald's shoulder hard. I'm planning to open a store in Diagon Alley. It will be open during the summer vacation at the earliest. Can you ask your mother if she is willing to be the acting store manager? I'll be in charge during holidays, and she only needs to help look after the store during non-holidays. The daily business hours can be adjusted freely as long as it's open every day. Salary is easy to negotiate. I can offer the highest hourly wage in all of Diagon Alley. Ronald's eyes suddenly lit up, but soon turned into hesitation. There will be no problem being a store manager. My mother can keep all of our rooms tidy by herself. But what are you going to sell in the store? Don't tell me you're selling guns. Selling that kind of thing is absolutely illegal. Ronald said. No, 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 I'm not selling guns, at least not now. Remy shook his head and said, I've been busy with the mass production of magic gloves recently, I remember telling you about it, right? The first batch of products is the magic gloves. This is a super welfare product that will benefit billions of squibs in the magic world. It's definitely not illegal. Are there so many squibs in the wizarding world? Harry asked curiously. Ronald shook his head vigorously, you can't sell guns in the future. My father works in the Ministry of Magic. If they investigate, it won't be a problem. Even if I sell guns in the future, they will definitely be magical firearms that are 100% made in the wizarding world. And believe me, before officially selling the guns, I will definitely get in touch with the Ministry of Magic to obtain sales permission. If I'm going to sell them, I will definitely sell them in large quantities, and there's no way to do it secretly. Remy said. If that's the case, there's definitely no problem, but are you sure you're serious? Don't let the time pass and you suddenly change your mind and not want to open the store, Ronald said. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Remy waved his hand, slammed the wand into the ground, and raised his chin slightly to look up at the sky at a 45-degree angle. Opening a store has always been my dream. I had already thought of the store name 5 years ago. Oh. Harry's eyes showed a strong curiosity, what's the name of the store? Remy's Help. Remy's Aid? Why is it called that? I noticed that Diagon Alley directly states what the store is, but I can't tell what your store sells. Who said I couldn't hear it? Remy raised an eyebrow and glared. Aid, don't you think the appearance of the magic gloves is a kind of aid to the squibs? Remy asked. So this is the kind of aid, it sounds reasonable. Harry nodded, agreeing with Remy's words. Since you are serious, I will write to my mother and ask her when I get back, you have to lend me the owl. Ronald said. No problem. By the way, can you please ask your mother if she has time to help me find a store? I can pay the agency fee. Remy said. That's easy. I'll ask my mother to ask for you when she goes to Diagon Alley to buy something. What kind of store do you want? What are your requirements for location and size? Ronald asked. Of course, the bigger the better. If one store is not enough, just buy the adjacent ones and connect them together, said Remy. You are really rich. What about the location? There are a lot of empty houses in Diagon Alley. Ronald asked after sighing. Location? Remy frowned and thought for a moment, then slapped his thigh. It's right across from Gringotts. You can buy a gun from my store and then go out and rob Gringotts. I want to snipe at the middle gate of Gringotts. Ronald. Harry. Chapter 85. Even though he was speechless about Remy's outspokenness, after thinking it over again and again, Ronald still wrote a letter to his mother after returning to the dormitory. If a customer buys something and then does something bad with it, what does that have to do with the store being open? It's not a big problem, even if there is a problem, it is only a punishment for Remy, the real store manager. That night Ronald's mother asked Long Johns to bring a reply letter to Ronald. In the letter, Mrs. Weasley first praised Long Johns, and then said that she needed to discuss the work with Mr. Weasley first, but she could help inquire about the store's matters. This reply seemed to Remy to be a very normal reaction. After all, the change from being a full-time housewife to working outside would have a significant impact on the Weasley family even during non-holiday periods. If nothing else, Mr. Weasley would have a big problem eating in the future, and he might need to learn to cook for himself if he didn't know how to cook before. The store's business has been settled for the time being, and Remy is also working hard to meet the deadline. But this matter cannot be rushed. When Remy is not busy, he spends most of his time studying textbooks. With his intelligence, he doesn't find studying difficult. It's not that he suddenly wanted to become a real academic master, but he didn't want to be a poor student who couldn't even pass the exams. He didn't want to embarrass himself as a time traveler, and even less did he want to embarrass his teacher. Ever since returning from Hagrid, Remy would reflect on himself from time to time, wondering if he had been too arrogant since entering Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Looking back now, what I said in Hagrid's cabin that day was not funny at all, and was quite excessive. At the same time, Remy also remembered the song he sang for Headmaster Dumbledore during the holidays. The content of the song was quite excessive. If it was the young Dumbledore, he might have turned against him on the spot. Let's find a chance to apologize to Headmaster Dumbledore later. Well, maybe I can find a way to get Grindelwald out, so that both the apology and the compensation will appear more sincere. I have already apologized to Hagrid, but, how about trying to redress Hagrid? That's a bit difficult. Remy took off his homemade glasses and rubbed the bridge of his nose. Remy still remembered some of Hagrid's past, and that was why he felt a headache. Hagrid was framed for allowing dangerous magical animals to hurt people. Although he was not locked up in the end due to insufficient evidence and Dumbledore's guarantee, he did bring the dangerous eight-eyed spider into Hogwarts and was therefore restricted from using a wand. Where can we find evidence to exonerate Hagrid in this old and rotten matter? It's not realistic to find evidence, and even if we find evidence or even trick Voldemort into telling the truth, it will be useless. Hagrid was punished because he brought an eight-eyed spider into Hogwarts. It still doesn't count as overturning his case, it can only be regarded as clearing him of suspicion of another crime. In this case, if we want to overturn Hagrid's case, we can't start from the incident itself. We have to find another way, another way. After frowning and thinking for a long time, Remy suddenly had an idea. The eight-eyed spider is a protected animal because it is too dangerous and rare. Hagrid was punished by the Ministry of Magic for secretly raising a protected animal in Hogwarts. So wouldn't it be okay if the eight-eyed spider was removed from the list of protected animals? Oh, right. There are also high-value magical creatures like dragons. Dragons are obviously precious, but they must be strictly protected and cannot be bred or slaughtered at will. It's such a waste of resources. We have the breeding methods and technology, but we don't do large-scale breeding, which leads to a shortage of raw materials and restricts the development of the magic world. This is simply a heinous crime. It's time for me, the true savior of the wizarding world, to save the wizarding world. Remy used divergent thinking to come up with a plausible reason to convince himself and had a clear understanding of his next goal. It's just that it's a little difficult to achieve, and it's not something that a little kid like him can accomplish alone. To achieve this goal would require a major change, but those old-timers in the Ministry of Magic would definitely not be willing to do so, even if Remy could create foolproof breeding equipment. This involves too many twists and turns, interests and uncertainties. Leaders from anywhere will not like this kind of uncertainty, let alone agree to it easily. If we apply using the normal method, I'm afraid those gentlemen won't even consider it for more than 10 or 20 years, so we must use extraordinary means. A gleam flashed in Remy's eyes, and he felt that he needed to ask his father for help. Although his father was never reliable when it came to serious matters, he was an expert at doing crooked things. He made a living by doing this. Absolutely professional counterparts. It's a pity that my father is not a wizard, not even a squib. If I want to come to the magic world. Thinking of this, Remy's eyes couldn't help but glance at a book on the simple bookshelf, The Code of the Magical World, 1990 edition. Remy coughed lightly, glanced at his roommates who were playing their own games, then stood up, walked casually to the bookshelf, took out the book, and then walked out of the dormitory as if nothing had happened. Click. As soon as the door was opened, the sound of it opening immediately attracted the attention of others. Where are you going, Remy? Harry asked, looking up. Well, let's go to the library to read. Do you want to go together? Remy asked. Why do you have to bring your own books when you go to the library to read? What books are not available in the library? Ronald looked at Remy puzzledly and asked with a pouty mouth. He was eating snacks. I'm lazy and don't want to spend time looking for books after I get there, said Remy. Then isn't it the same if you read in the dormitory? We didn't disturb you, did we? Seamus asked doubtfully, putting down the wand in his hand, thinking to himself that I obviously haven't experimented with the explosion, experimented with the spell yet. It's your fault that you don't read books. It would be such a boring atmosphere if I'm the only one reading in the dormitory. Remy said. Harry looked at Remy suspiciously, his intuition told him that Remy was hiding something from him, especially since he always felt that Remy was deliberately hiding the book in his hand. Oh, okay. Harry nodded. Wait for me, I'll go to the library with you after I change my clothes. As he said this, Harry gave Ronald a look, but Ronald had already lowered his head to continue eating snacks and did not receive the signal Harry sent at all. Remy looked at Harry speechlessly, thinking, am I really that guilty? Or did Harry really suddenly want to go to the library to read? Whatever the reason, Remy felt that he had very bad luck. Okay, I'll wait for you in the common room, Remy said. Okay. After walking out of the dormitory and closing the door, Remy let out a long sigh and then ran away. Waiting for Harry? Wait for the hammer. Chapter 86. Hogwarts in early summer, water follows the sky and spring is endless. The distant mountains are far away, offering sorrow and hatred, and the black staff is empty. At sunset, on the top of the building, in the sound of the fishing owl, the Muggle wanderer. I read the law code and patted the railings, but no one understood my intention to climb up. Remy raised his arm to catch the fallen autumn johns and placed them on the wand, looking at the afterglow of the sunset with a feeling of deep emotion in his heart. If it doesn't work, I can save up some magic crystals to make a boiled egg that can give ordinary people magic power. Forget about getting drunk on purpose. It's unnecessary. Don't think about those messy things, just enjoy your life, and the magic gloves. This holiday season, let's give the wizarding world a little surprise. Remy let out a long sigh, opened his arms and stretched his muscles, and suddenly felt indescribably relaxed. I clearly didn't do anything particularly big, nor did I have any major change in my thinking, but I just felt relaxed for no reason. He returned to the dormitory wearing long johns. His roommates were preparing for the exam seriously. Every one of them was reading, without exception. Putting the long johns into the little nest built for it, Remy also picked up the textbook and joined them, occasionally giving them questions to test them. You don't seem nervous at all, are you so confident? Harry asked. Remy nodded, of course, I have memorized all the books. How is that possible? You've only been reading for a few days. Ronald said. Don't believe it. If you don't believe it, you can try it. Remy said. Okay, what's on page 3, line 7? Ronald asked. Which book? A Beginner's Guide to Transfiguration. Using transfiguration to transform dead objects into living things does not last forever and does not change the nature of the object. For example, if you transform a stone into a piece of cheese, even if the texture and taste are the same as cheese when you eat it, the human body cannot digest the cheese, and when the magic effect disappears, it will turn back into stone in your stomach. Remy shrugged, I'm giving you a few extra words, no need to thank me. Just a coincidence, right? Seamus looked at Remy suspiciously and then at the book. Tell me what's written on the 6th line of page 17 of Magical Pharmacy and Potions. There is no text on page 17. The entire page is filled with images of the water of life and death, Remy said. Giving Remy a suspicious look, Seamus lowered his head and turned to page 17, his eyes suddenly widened. Really? You really memorized the whole book? How is that possible? Harry stared at Remy with eyes wide open in disbelief. I know Hermione can do it, but she spent a lot of time reading books. How did you do it? Because I have a gift of photographic memory, this kind of thing is just child's play for me, just sprinkle some water. Remy shook his hair and said arrogantly. Do you think I believe it? Harry asked. I guess you must be envious and jealous of me now. I understand. After all, I have always been the child of other parents since I was a child. Remy said. Hee, you were sneaking around the past few days. Tell me, have you invented something that can greatly improve memory? Harry asked. As Harry asked the question, the eyes of the remaining 3 people all lit up, and then they looked straight at Remy. Especially Neville. To improve memory, it doesn't need to be a drastic improvement, even just a little bit is good for him. Is it difficult to admit that others are excellent? Remy asked. The 4 of them were stunned for a moment and turned their heads away. Yes, is it difficult to admit that others are excellent? Remy had clearly proven that he had memorized the information, so why did they suspect that Remy had cheated? And it was an unfounded suspicion. Just as Harry lowered his head in shame and thought about what to say to apologize to Remy, suddenly, a pair of glasses was thrown on the bed next to him. Harry picked up the glasses in confusion, feeling surprised but also more ashamed. So Remy has been preparing gifts for me these days. Isn't it a Christmas gift? I was so suspicious of him. By the way, what gift should I give in return? With mixed emotions and a confused mind, Harry didn't dare to look up at Remy. At this time, Remy said, these are memory glasses. Everything you see when you wear them will be directly transmitted to your brain. It can be considered a memory enhancer. But it can only help the user remember what they see. If you are forgetful or your thoughts are confused, you will still not be able to remember. Harry. Blanche? You still cheated after all. And it wasn't a gift for me. Damn it. Give me back my feelings. Giving Remy a hard glare, Harry was quickly attracted by the memory glasses in his hand. He took off his own myopia glasses and put on the memory glasses. Suddenly he found that he could see things more clearly with these glasses than with his own myopia glasses. This made the suspicious Harry feel uncertain again. Is this a pair of myopic glasses? Can the degree be adjusted by yourself? Or, did you custom make it for me? Harry asked, trying hard to suppress his excitement. Didn't I just say that? What you see through these glasses will be transmitted directly to the wearer's brain, so of course it will be clear. Remy said. Harry. Well, it seems that I am self-touching again. Damn my paranoia. Sighing, Harry focused his attention on studying his newly acquired memory glasses. Not only is reading through these glasses extremely clear, but Harry can also remember a page of a book after just one glance. This magical experience makes Harry unable to stop. It's amazing. With it, I think I can memorize the whole book. Harry said excitedly. Is it true? Let me try it too. Ronald said. Okay, you try it. Remy is such a genius. He can invent such a great thing. With it, I think our results will definitely surpass Hermione, said Harry. That's not necessarily true. Hermione has always scored full marks in previous class tests. Neville muttered to Harry's relief, looking at Ronald eagerly. Then at least I can tie with Hermione. Ronald, what do you think? Let me try too. Seamus said. Wait a minute, I just put it on and haven't read a book yet. Which book should I read first? Ronald said. How about you take your time and let me try it first? Neville said weakly. Don't worry, everyone has a share, right, Remy? You don't need it now. Ronald asked. You won't need it for now, just go and have fun. If you study hard, the remaining time will be enough for each of you to memorize all the textbook contents. I have a few notebooks of the top students at Ravenclaw Academy, you can also take a look at them. Remy said. After getting Remy's answer, the remaining 4 people's eyes lit up like light bulbs, as if they saw themselves getting first place in the grade. Chapter 87. After a full day of exams, Professor McGonagall sat in his office grading papers, feeling both excited and anxious. As a teacher, she hopes that all her students can get good grades, but she also knows that this is impossible. For this purpose, she even prepared a cup of tea and corrected the test papers while drinking the tea, so as not to be angry about the test papers of individual students. After taking a sip of tea and picking up a test paper, Professor McGonagall's eyes suddenly lit up. This test paper, oh, it's Harry's. Harry has made obvious progress recently. It seems that he has been studying hard for some time. After taking a sip of tea with satisfaction, Professor McGonagall picked up the next test paper and frowned. This test paper. When did Remy become so amazing? Although he often asks questions, his scores on all the in-class tests are always low. Could it be that he has been hiding his incompetence? Thinking of Remy's teacher and Remy's strength, Professor McGonagall's brows relaxed slightly. If Remy had been hiding his incompetence, she could accept it. After all, Remy had always been unfathomable in aspects other than studying. After putting down Remy's test paper, when Professor McGonagall picked up the next test paper, his brows, which had just relaxed, instantly frowned even tighter. Why is the answer to this question so similar to Harry's? Wait, it seems to be similar to Remy's answer too. As if he had thought of something, Professor McGonagall quickly took Remy and Harry's test papers and put the 3 papers side by side. With an inadvertent glance, Professor McGonagall picked up another test paper and took a look at it, then picked up another test paper. Putting the 5 test papers side by side, Professor McGonagall's eyes quickly swept back and forth over the 5 test papers, his expression becoming increasingly unsightly. Humph! That's really too much. Bang! Professor McGonagall slammed the table, stood up with a grim face, and picked up the 5 test papers on the table. After leaving the office, Professor McGonagall walked quickly to the principal's office and rushed directly into it. Before Headmaster Dumbledore could finish his greetings, Professor McGonagall threw 5 test papers in front of Headmaster Dumbledore. Look, he really went too far this time. Not only did he cheat on the exam himself, he also got everyone in the dormitory to cheat as well. Albus, even though he is Nicholas Flamel's student, he really went too far this time. The nature of his behavior is so bad. He must be given the most severe punishment. Professor McGonagall said, trying not to get angry. Oh, really? Have a cup of tea first, and let me look at these papers. Dumbledore pushed up his glasses and picked up the test paper on the table and looked at it. With just one glance, he came to the same conclusion as Professor McGonagall: the students in this dormitory must have cheated collectively. It's not that Dumbledore is very knowledgeable about cheating, but the cheating is too obvious. Of the 5 test papers, except for Remy and Harry's, the remaining 3 papers cannot be said to be exactly the same, but they can be said to be exactly the same. Apart from the handwriting, everything else, including the wording and punctuation, is exactly the same, not to mention the content of the text. Although the answers on Remy and Harry's test papers are different from the other 3, when the 2 are put together, it can be seen that they are in the same vein. The only difference is that both of them added some personal understandings to the standard answers. Tisk Remy's answer to the 3rd question must have been deliberately wrong. The answer is completely different from the answers to the other questions. Dumbledore said. Yes, if their test papers had not been placed together, he might have gotten away with it, said Professor McGonagall. I understand what you mean, Minerva, but this paper alone does not prove that they cheated, said Headmaster Dumbledore. What did you say? This is... Professor McGonagall's face suddenly turned anxious. I'm not trying to excuse him. Headmaster Dumbledore waved his hand. What I mean is that I can only confirm whether he cheated or not after I call him over and ask him face to face. Professor McGonagall breathed a sigh of relief and looked much more relaxed. Yes, it is indeed necessary for him to admit in person what he has done. Professor McGonagall nodded. Having reached an agreement with Professor McGonagall, Dumbledore did not delay any longer and immediately wrote a small note and handed it to Fawkes beside him, asking him to give the note to Remy. About half an hour after Fawkes flew away with the note in his mouth, Remy finally came to the principal's office yawning and listlessly. What is it, Headmaster Dumbledore? Remy asked. You seem to be very tired. Did you sleep very late last night? Dumbledore asked. I had a great time with Harry and the others last night, and just as I fell asleep I was woken up by your phoenix, whose feathers were almost all gone and looked like it was dying. Is it about to be reborn? Does it need a little help? The feathers of my owl are much more beautiful than its phoenix. Remy said. Thank you, but no, this is a process that Phoenix must go through. Dumbledore said, are you celebrating the exam? Of course. Oh, Professor McGonagall is here too. I wonder if you have started grading the exams? The average grade of our dormitory will definitely surprise you. Remy said proudly. Professor McGonagall, who already looked unhappy, looked even more unhappy after hearing what Remy said. How dare you mention your dormitory's test scores? Hey, Headmaster Dumbledore called you here just for your dormitory exam. Professor McGonagall said with a stern face. Oh. Remy's eyes lit up. Is it because of our outstanding performance that we want to give our college extra points? Professor McGonagall's breath hitched, and he rolled his eyes before motioning to Dumbledore. That look seemed to say, I am speechless about him, so you should speak. Remy looked at Dumbledore in confusion. Cough. On the contrary, we suspect that everyone in your dormitory cheated. With a light cough, Dumbledore lightly tapped his fingers and used the levitation spell to float 5 test papers in front of Remy without using a wand. Can you explain to us why your answers are so similar or even exactly the same? Dumbledore asked. Remy was stunned at first, then quickly looked at the test paper. Bang! After reading the entire test paper, Remy reached out and suddenly slapped his forehead. These people are too outrageous. They don't even know how to make some changes. Remy said speechlessly. Professor McGonagall's eyes lit up. He admitted it. Now it's confirmed. Just as Professor McGonagall was about to ask Headmaster Dumbledore to punish Remy, he heard Remy say again. But we didn't cheat. We just memorized the textbooks and took notes from the same top student, so our answers were almost the same. I, Remy, didn't cheat. Chapter 88. Did the 5 of you memorize all the textbooks and the top student's notes? If you could memorize it, you would have been a top student long ago. Why would you need to memorize other top students' notes? How dare you, with your pig brains, say you have memorized it all? Who are you fooling? Do you think you are Hermione? Professor McGonagall and Headmaster Dumbledore both looked at Remy with a "are you kidding me" sweetly expression until Remy slowly took out the memory glasses and explained their functions to them clearly. Professor McGonagall took the memory glasses with some doubt, looked at them again and again, and finally put them on. Professor McGonagall didn't even pick up the book to read, but just looked around the office with his memory glasses, and was immediately shocked. These glasses are amazing. If all students can have a pair of memory glasses, I believe everyone's grades can reach O. Professor McGonagall said excitedly. Is it really that amazing? Dumbledore raised his hand suspiciously, and the memory glasses flew out of Professor McGonagall's hand and fell into Dumbledore's hand. He put on the glasses and took a look, and immediately realized the magic of the glasses. Implanting memories? What a great invention! Dumbledore nodded. Indeed, with these glasses, all the theoretical knowledge that needs to be memorized will become extremely easy. Now that we can prove that we didn't cheat, can I go back to sleep? Remy asked. Oh, of course. Professor McGonagall said, Mr. Barrett, I apologize for what I said before. I'm very sorry. I shouldn't have doubted you. It's just a small matter. Just make sure the scores are fair. You guys chat. I'll go back first. I'm so sleepy. Remy waved his hand and said. Wait a minute, Remy. Dumbledore suddenly called out to Remy. Anything else? Want to give me extra points? Remy asked confusedly. Dumbledore shook his head, the life of magic lies in understanding and creation. Your glasses can only help people remember some dead knowledge, but cannot help people understand that knowledge. Remy looked at Dumbledore with a puzzled expression, not quite understanding what Dumbledore meant by saying this. Could it be that he wanted him to improve his memory glasses? But aren't the proposed improvements too demanding? The function of assisting memory is easy to implement, but assisting understanding, what the hell is that function? I have no idea. Seeing that Remy didn't say anything, Dumbledore thought for a moment before continuing. Although your glasses can help people remember the contents of books faster and easier, it is also easy for users to become dependent on them and lose the motivation to understand knowledge. This has a very significant negative impact on a person's future development. Dumbledore said. Remy. So I invented this magical learning tool, but it turned out to be a mistake? Remy suddenly laughed in frustration. So? Principal Dumbledore, what exactly do you want to say? Are you going to confiscate my glasses for this reason? Remy asked. It was meant to be a rhetorical remark, but what Remy didn't expect was that Dumbledore actually nodded. Yes. Not only will I confiscate the glasses, I will also be deducting 5 points from you and giving you detention, said Dumbledore. Remy WTF. Not to mention Remy, even Professor McGonagall beside him was very puzzled and didn't understand why Dumbledore did this. Dumbledore, I think this invention of his. I hope you stay in the detention room during this period before the holidays start, don't run around, and don't cause trouble. Dumbledore said. After hearing Dumbledore's words and receiving a meaningful look from Dumbledore, Professor McGonagall immediately understood something. She stopped talking and just watched quietly. Okay. Remy rolled his eyes. Why don't you just say you're worried that I'll cause trouble again, so you want to lock me up for a while? Why are you talking about all that nonsense? Of course it's to make it easier for you to accept it psychologically. Dumbledore said with a smile. Thank you. Remy rolled his eyes at Dumbledore in annoyance. Forget it, you are the headmaster after all. You have the final say at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. You're welcome. I should thank you for your understanding. Dumbledore pushed his glasses up and realized that these were not his original glasses, but after thinking about it, he did not take them off. Regardless of other things, these glasses at least allow you to see things clearly when you wear them. After reaching a consensus, Dumbledore personally took Remy to the detention room. Remy kept rolling his eyes along the way. He probably guessed why Dumbledore did this, simply to prevent him from ruining the plan. I didn't really want to change the plot, otherwise wouldn't I have changed it long ago. In the confinement room, Remy looked at the blue stone floor with a depressed look on his face, and the more he thought about it, the angrier he became. Since arriving at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, has he disrupted Dumbledore's plans? Not at all. He clearly didn't do anything bad, but Dumbledore still locked him up at this critical moment, which really hurt Remy's heart. It would be better to just intervene directly. If you have the guts, lock me up for life and don't let me out. As long as you let me out, hee, I will definitely give this world a big surprise. With a few hums, Remy used alchemy to create a bed and went to sleep. Filch was still in charge of guarding, but unlike the previous time, this time Filch was very easy to talk to. Not only did he not disturb Remy, but he would also ask Remy what he wanted to eat before delivering food to her, just like a caring butler. The solitary confinement room was dark and only had oil lamps for lighting. Remy stayed quietly in the solitary confinement room. Every day, he spent his time sleeping and hoarding magic crystals. His life was extremely boring. I don't know how long it took, but just when Remy couldn't hold it in any longer, a familiar voice suddenly came from outside the door. Remy, are you in there? Remy. Yo-hi. Remy jumped out of bed. Is that Harry? What are you doing here? Remy asked. We're here to get you out. Ronald said. You two get out of the way, don't block me. Hermione said, Aloho. Click as the door opened, Remy blinked and saw nothing. Until Harry lifted the invisibility cloak. Seeing all three people there, Remy immediately understood something. Let me guess, it's not as simple as just rescuing me and going out to play together, right? Remy asked. Yes, we need your help. Harry nodded vigorously. We have found some clues, but Principal Dumbledore happened to leave Hogwarts today. We suspect that the man is likely to steal the Philosopher's Stone today. We must stop him. Your analysis is correct. Remy nodded, let's go back to the dormitory first. When I get the magic wand, I will take you to quickly clear the magic stone copy. No need to go back, I brought it to you. As he spoke, Ronald half showed his body from the invisibility cloak, and in his hand was Remy's wand. A super magic wand that is 1.7 meters long. Chapter 89. Time was short and the task was heavy. Remy, who had already announced that he would take Harry and the others to quickly clear the Philosopher's Stone copy, ran all the way without even putting on his invisibility cloak. With such arrogance and domineering behavior, if nothing unexpected happens, he will run into Filch around the corner. Looking at Filch with wide eyes, Remy smiled awkwardly, and the wand in his hand was ready to move. Just as Remy was about to hit Filch with a stick, Filch came to his senses. This is really hell. I can't stay up any longer. I'm already having hallucinations, Mrs. Norris, let's go back and get some rest. Muttering something, Filch walked past Remy without even looking at him, startling Harry and the others who had just caught up. It wasn't until Filch disappeared at the end of the passage that Harry and the other two breathed a sigh of relief. Oh my god, what's going on? Filch can't see you? Remy, what great thing have you invented? Ronald asked. Ah, well, let's not talk about that for now, business is more important. Oh, yes, we have to hurry to that room, since Filch has gone there, do we not need to wear the invisibility cloak? How is that possible? Even without Filch, there are still other professors. We'd be dead if we ran into Professor McGonagall. Yes, hurry up. Remy, why did you come in too? Stop talking nonsense and leave now. After a short while of noise, everyone returned to silence and continued to move towards the target room. The rest of the journey was smooth sailing, and the four of them arrived at the target room very smoothly. Before entering the door, everyone heard melodious music. Oh no! Hagrid said that the three-headed dog named Fluffy would fall asleep whenever he listened to music. Someone must have got here first. Ronald said. Hermione, open the door. Okay, get out of the way. Alahohole. Click. After opening the door, Remy walked into the room where the three-headed dog was locked up. He immediately saw a harp playing music and the three-headed dog sleeping soundly. It seems that someone did come in first. Fortunately, the trapdoor is not covered. I hope there are other protective facilities set up by other professors below that can hold that person back for some time. Just as Harry was analyzing the situation calmly, he saw Remy walk up to the sleeping three-headed dog and slap him 3 times. The three-headed dog, which was instantly awakened, looked at Remy in confusion, and remained silent and motionless for a while. You loser, is this how you guard the door? Hey! Remy pointed at the trapdoor and scolded. The three-headed dog looked at the trapdoor, then at the harp that was playing music, and his whole being was stunned. Woof woof woof. Woof woof. Bang, another slap. Woof. Shut up. Go get down next to the trapdoor. Remy said. After hearing Remy's order, the three-headed dog whimpered softly and actually walked to the trapdoor and lay down obediently. Harry and the other two stared at it for a long time, unable to recover. He walked to the trapdoor, squatted down and opened it. The three-headed dog wanted to stop him, but was glared back by Remy. "Don't mess around, we are going to catch that person and fix the mistakes you made at work." As Remy spoke, he opened the trapdoor. Glancing at the dark shaft below, Remy pulled out 3 round objects from his pocket, unzipped the rings one by one, threw them down and closed the trapdoor as Harry and the other two looked at them in shock. 1, 2, 3, dong boom. Following the loud noise, Harry and the other two felt the entire room shake. "Potential danger has been cleared, you can go down now." As he spoke, Remy used alchemy to create a large bundle of rope. After tying one end to Lu Wei's leg, Remy opened the trapdoor again and threw the rest of the rope in. "I'll go down first, you guys follow." Harry swallowed and was about to tell Remy to be careful, but he saw Remy pick up his wand and jump down. Is this rope only for us?" Ronald asked with a puzzled look. "It seems so. Why do I feel like he can stop that guy on his own without any help from us? How about, we wait for him here? It seems like we asked him to help." "Oh, yes, let's go down then." The 3 people were unable to accept the fact that the external aid they invited was too powerful. After they recovered, they lined up and went down to the bottom of the shaft along the rope. "Where's Remy?" Ronald, who was the last to land, looked around and asked. "I don't know, probably before going." Boom! Bang! Hermione was startled by the loud noise and the sudden flying object. When they saw clearly what was flying towards them, the 3 people were instantly frightened more than 10 times. "Remy! Are you okay?" Harry hurriedly ran to Remy and asked, helping Remy up while asking. "Ahem. It's okay, I've already opened the door to the next level. I just used the wrong equivalent, I hope the passage wasn't damaged," Remy said. 3 people. "Hey man, you used the bomb again?" "No, you were blown out and you're still okay." The 3 people were so shocked that they barely came to their senses after Remy stood up and asked them to move forward together. Following Remy through a passage of about 30 meters, everyone came to a small but very tall room. Opposite them was a tattered flying broom, above them were a bunch of winged keys, and opposite them was a charred door frame. From the layout of the room, Harry guessed that there should have been a locked door in the door frame, and that the door was probably enchanted so that it could only be opened with one of the many keys in the sky. But now, don't look at it anymore. There will be plenty of opportunities to watch it in the future. We need to hurry up and catch up now, said Remy. "Oh, okay. I'll follow right away. Slow down and be careful." Passing through the door frame, the 4 entered another passage. The passage was very dark, with only an oil lamp placed on a pillar in the middle providing lighting. Through the dim light, one could barely see 2 pillars next to the door at the end of the passage, each with an identical but unlit oil lamp on it. "Another door." Remy raised an eyebrow. "You guys stand back, I'll deal with it." "Wait a minute." Hermione grabbed Remy. "This should be decipherable, and it's very simple. We should just need to use the lit lamp to light up the 2 lights at the door. No violence is needed." "Yes, that's definitely the case. Remy, you take a break, we can handle this step." Harry nodded vigorously, then walked to the middle pillar. After carefully observing the surface of the pillar to make sure there were no signs of mechanisms, Harry took a deep breath and picked up the oil lamp. Nothing happened. Harry breathed a sigh of relief, turned around and gestured to the 3 people, then walked slowly forward with the oil lamp in hand. 1 step, 2 steps, like the pace of a devil. When I took the 7th step, suddenly, the lights went out. Chapter 90. The sudden extinction of the light startled everyone except Remy, who recognized that the light was made by him as soon as he saw it. "How is it? I knew it wouldn't be that easy. Let's use my method." Hermione shuddered when she could barely see what Remy was holding in his hand with the dim light from behind her. "No need. Let me do it." "Refusal, Remy." Hermione took out her wand and waved it vigorously. Lumos. As the spell was recited, when a ball of white light emerged from the tip of Hermione's wand, Remy sighed helplessly. He knew that there was no chance of him showing off his skills. Sure enough, under Hermione's illumination spell, the oil lamp lit up again. "Hey? It's on again, what's going on? Could it be that this light is voice-controlled?" Harry said. "It's possible. Just keep going forward and try. Hermione said. After taking a few more steps until he reached the door, Harry breathed a sigh of relief. The lights are still on. He successfully used the oil lamp in his hand to light the oil lamp on the pillar in front of the door. With a click, the thick oak door opened. Really? Since you used my stuff to set up a level, you should be more careful, Headmaster Dumbledore. Remy pouted and put away the things in his hand, feeling a little dissatisfied, but under Harry's call, he could only temporarily put aside his little emotions and move on. After passing through 4 levels, running through a crooked passage, and walking down a not-so-long staircase, the 4 of them arrived at a huge hall. There is no lack of lighting in this hall. As soon as you enter, you can see a huge chessboard and chess pieces that occupy nearly 1/3 of the hall, as well as a door behind the chessboard that seems a little small compared to the chess pieces. This level, isn't it going to be a game of wizard chess? Harry said uncertainly, and at the same time looked at Ronald involuntarily. Remy also glanced at Ronald. He knew that Ronald was quite good at wizard chess. He had played wizard chess with Ronald several times before and he always lost. He had not played much wizard chess before, neither he nor Nicholas Flamel were keen on the game. But he still knows how to play wizard chess, and he understands the difference in difficulty between protecting 3 chess pieces and protecting 4 chess pieces, which is a difference of several times. Based on the memory of Ronald's chess skills when he risked his life to save Harry and Hermione, he couldn't have the ability to keep 4 chess pieces. Unless, the professor or the principal lets us off. Yes, when Remy saw this chessboard for the first time, he realized that this chessboard was actually just an enlarged version of an ordinary wizard chess, and it was not fully automatic. This means that there is definitely at least one person on the field at this moment. It seems that I can't use my little tricks in this level. I'll leave it to you, Ronald. This level requires each of us to replace one of the chess pieces and win the game to pass. But you don't have to count me in, I can pass it by myself. Holding the wand horizontally, Remy put his hands on the wand and walked towards the chessboard with an unyielding step. Watching Remy approach the chessboard step by step, the 3 were very curious about how Remy could pass the chessboard. If Remy walked towards the chessboard without saying anything, they would definitely have to stop him in case Remy, the big bomber, blew up the whole place, but from what Remy said, it seemed that he had another way to get through this level. Under the curious gaze of the 3 people, they saw that when Remy walked onto the chessboard, the magic power on him became stronger, and soon it was so strong that it could be seen with the naked eye even from a long distance. There was no wind but waves were rising. A strong sense of oppression shocked the pupils of Harry and the other 2. Oh my god, what kind of magic is this? Is Remy so strong? Isn't this too exaggerated? In the corner, Headmaster Dumbledore, who was hiding nearby, narrowed his eyes. His eyes were calm, but his expression was extremely serious, and he had already held the wand in his hand. Just when the 4 of them held their breath and stared at Remy intently, ready to witness an amazing magic, Remy suddenly waved his wand. Ah! Bang! Bang! Ouch! I'm boiling! Ah! Bang! Looking at Remy swinging his wand and engaging in a fierce battle with the giant chess piece as if he was going to fight for 300 rounds, Dumbledore covered his face with his hands in silence. As expected, we can't expect anything from this guy. On the other side, Harry and the other 2 looked at Remy speechlessly. Sometimes I'm really curious, can Remy really be considered a wizard? Aren't wizards supposed to be full of wisdom? Why does Remy seem more reckless than anyone else? Ronald complained. Maybe it's because he doesn't know what fear is. Harry said uncertainly. Yet, he seems to not get hurt no matter what he does. He wasn't hurt even by such a powerful explosion just now. Hermione said. He still gets hurt, but they're just minor injuries, like cutting his fingers with a fruit knife or something like that, Harry said. Hermione suddenly fell into deep thought. She didn't understand, but she really wanted to figure it out. While the 3 were talking, Remy had already successfully opened the door to the passage, and behind him was the chess piece being restored. It seems that we can't follow the path opened up by Remy. Just listen to my instructions, is that okay? Ronald asked. Harry and Hermione nodded and were about to say something when suddenly, a loud noise was heard in the passage ahead. Boom! Bang! 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 A figure flew out from the passage, crashed through the wooden wall, and smashed all the chess pieces along the way in one breath. Finally, he crashed into a stone pillar with a diameter of 2 meters, creating a big hole in the stone pillar and slowly slid down. In the passage, you can still faintly see a green light that has not yet dissipated. Remy! ×3 The three of them shouted and hurried towards Remy. Damn it! How dare you cast a green spell on my head? Are you tired of living? With a roar, Remy stood up and took out a cylindrical object with a trigger from his pocket. Squeak! I'm boiling. Hurrying to the brakes, Harry grabbed Ronald and Hermione in one hand. In fact, he didn't need to catch them. When they saw what Remy took out, they stopped faster than Harry, and Ronald even turned around and ran. He didn't know what Remy took out, but from the size he knew it was definitely not a small toy. Hefting the cylinder over his shoulder and aiming it at the passage, Remy pulled the trigger without hesitation. Whoosh boom! After firing the first shot, Remy took out what looked like an oversized bullet without any pause, loaded it into the cylinder, and then aimed it at the channel again and pulled the trigger. Whoosh boom! Goodong! Ronald, who had already hidden behind a pillar, swallowed and looked at Harry who had just dodged. What is that thing? RPG. Chapter 91. Whoosh boom! Whoosh boom! After firing 7 missiles in one breath, Remy gasped and dropped the launcher on his shoulder to the ground. Remy took 3 deep breaths and patted his face with his hands. Calm down, I can't do this. I can already use magic. Yes, I am a wizard now, I should defeat him in a wizard's way. Yes. Use magic. Looking around to find his wand, Remy swung the wand and rushed towards the passage, howling. The 3 people behind the pillar not far away were stunned. Actually, I don't think the way he's fighting now is the right way for a wizard. I've never seen a wizard rush forward like this. Ronald said after he came to his senses. How else should we rush? Harry asked. Come on, let's go and help. Help? Hermione's voice was a full 3 octaves higher than usual. How can we help? With our current strength, will we be able to help or cause trouble? At least Remy is not injured now. What if he is distracted by us? Then we can't just wait here, can we? Let's go and ask Remy for a few guns. Remy will be in the front, and we will help Remy suppress the enemy with firepower from the back. A gleam of danger and excitement flashed in Harry's eyes. This isn't good, is it? Ronald licked his lips and said. What's wrong with that? Seeing Remy alone. Boom. Before he could finish his words, suddenly, a huge flame appeared in the passage, and along with the flame, Remy was blown out again. But this time he didn't hit anything, and even did 3 graceful backflips in the air before landing smoothly. But his face looked very unhappy. Oh my god, how can he be so strong? He is stronger than what I saw in the movies. We don't even seem to be from the same dimension. Remy's eyes burned with fire. Such a world is more interesting. Just as Remy was about to rush in again, Harry couldn't hold back any longer. Remy! Wait a minute! Harry said, coming out from behind the pillar. What? You can't help much with the opponent's strength right now, so just hide first. Remy said. I know. Harry nodded. The spells we know are too few and too weak, but, do you still have a gun? Or an RPG? Yo-hoi? Remy looked at Harry, as well as Harry and Hermione who also came out from behind the pillar, with some surprise. What? Are you planning to use Muggle weapons too? Think carefully. If you get caught, it won't be as simple as being expelled from Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. You'll probably be sent to Azkaban. Remy said. When Ronald heard the word Azkaban, he shrank his neck in fear, but soon he straightened his chest again. Isn't it just Azkaban? You've been there twice and nothing happened. This is enough to prove that Azkaban is not as scary as the legend says. Ronald said. That's right. Things have come to this point. I don't think the consequences of being caught now will be more serious than if we used guns. In that case, we might as well make a bigger fuss. It would be best if we could attract all the professors. Hermione said, with a dangerous light flashing in her eyes. What she said was echoed by Harry and Ronald. The 3 of them looked at Remy, waiting for Remy to make a decision. On the other side, in another hall at the end of the passage, a figure and 2 voices were communicating in a friendly manner. It's Quirrell. A hole. Who the hell is that little boy? He can't even die like this. Master, let's hurry to the next level. As long as we pass one more level, I can get the Philosopher's Stone for you. Shut up. You are not going anywhere. That little boy must be killed today. Right here. He must be killed. But master, if we delay any longer, I'm afraid the professors will come, and even Headmaster Dumbledore will. Hey! Are you scared? Ah! Master, please spare me. I didn't. I'm not afraid. Mark my words. Kill that little boy. Right here. In this hall. Today. Ah. Yes. It's the master. I will kill him. I will lend you more strength. Kill him. Kill him at all costs. Yes, master, I will do it. At any cost. Quirrell was trembling all over, half bending and nodding his head continuously. A stream of black air came out from the back of his head, wrapped around his body and slowly entered his body. Quirrell felt his strength increasing, but he just couldn't feel happy. He had a very bad feeling. We can't go on like this, we have to make a quick decision, otherwise we really won't be able to leave. Phew! He has gone crazy. Gritting his teeth, Quirrell suddenly put on a flattering expression. Master, can I take the initiative? Let me go over and kill those kids. Quirrell said. Go, kill them all. Voldemort, you little jerk. Your grandpa Remy is back again. Take my magic and fall unconscious. With a loud shout, Remy jumped high, swung his wand and hit Quirrell on the back of the head. You call what you're doing magic? Also. Don't call me a little punk. Call me Lord Dark Lord. Quirrell. Kill him for me. Kill him with a real swoon. Yes, master. Fainted. Bang. Remy flew backwards and hit the wall beside him. Just as Quirrell was about to continue waving his wand to attack Remy, suddenly, a series of tapping sounds came from the passage, and a strong sense of crisis made him quickly flee from the spot. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Accompanied by a burst of continuous gunfire, Harry was seen walking into the hall with a submachine gun in his hand with some difficulty, and the muzzle of the gun kept moving with Quirrell, who turned into a ball of black gas. Click! After emptying a whole magazine in one breath, Harry panicked and hurriedly changed the magazine. At this moment, Quirrell turned into a ball of black gas and rushed towards Harry in an instant. On the other side, Remy, who had just landed, narrowed his eyes and rushed towards Harry. Before he could get over there, another burst of gunfire rang out, and Hermione walked slowly towards Harry holding two Uzi submachine guns. Didn't Remy tell him not to come in? Let's take turns shooting and don't give him a chance to get close. Hermione said. That's right, you are too impulsive. Remy, give me a shotgun, I'll be responsible for defense. Ronald said after putting the sniper rifle on his back. Okay, be careful, let me add another debuff to him. Remy took out a shotgun and slid it on the ground to Ronald. He then took out 3 boxes of bullets and slid them on the ground to Harry and the other 3. Then he stood up and waved his wand vigorously, pointing it at Quirrell, who was fleeing. Voldemort, you are such a little punk. Don't you look down on Muggles the most? Why do you run away in fear in front of Muggle weapons and don't even have the courage to take them head on? Remy shouted. A hole. Don't call me a punk. Quirrell. Don't hide. Defeat them head on. Chapter 92. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Looking at Harry and Hermione, who were firing on all cylinders and had weird smiles on their faces, Remy felt that today was really amazing. I thought it was just a boring dungeon that I was speedrunning with low-level players, but first I ran into Quirrell unexpectedly, and now I have to use guns with Harry and the others to deal with Quirrell. He thought it would be a tough battle, but he didn't expect Voldemort to actually order Quirrell to stop in the middle of the hall just because of his taunt. Voldemort is definitely out of his mind. This is too extreme and easy to fool, isn't it? But, the more extreme the better. You can be my target to test the power of firearms on wizards in actual combat. Remy's eyes flashed, and he took out a tripod and a camera from his pocket. Pointing the camera at Voldemort in the middle of the hall and starting filming, Remy walked over to Harry, who was enjoying the game. Without disturbing the 3 people who were having a great time, Remy squatted down and used alchemy to create several sandbags, building a tactical stronghold in front of the 3 people. Then, Remy took out a large number of parts and assembled them, and soon he assembled a classic Maxim heavy machine gun with a bracket. Click! After loading the ammunition belt, Remy patted the Maxim heavy machine gun. Ronald, you try this big one. Remy said. Okay. Ronald agreed immediately. He had been eager to try it when Remy was assembling it, so he naturally wouldn't be polite now. Ronald, who had been watching Harry and Hermione playing for a long time, immediately aimed at Quirrell in the hall and pulled the trigger after Remy taught him the operating essentials. With a burst of violent gunfire, dense bullets poured down on Quirrell's unfolded protective shield like a rainstorm. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3. Snap! In less than 3 seconds, the shield that had taken all the damage was torn apart, and Quirrell hurriedly fled. Oh my! I thought bullets were completely ineffective against magic shields, but it turns out they can break them. Remy narrowed his eyes and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Before Quirrell could escape far, a hoarse voice rang out from him. A hole! Who told you to run? Go back! Defeat them head-on! Kill them! Master! Master, that gun is too powerful! Shut up! That's just Muggle-made garbage! What's there to be afraid of? Go back! It's nothing to be afraid of, but I'm really scared. After replying, Quirrell continued to move around the hall without looking back to avoid the attacks. A hole! I told you to go back! Didn't you hear me? Are you going to betray me? You're still running, aren't you? Fine. I'll do it myself. Ah! Quirrell, who was fleeing, suddenly let out screams, and his body was wrapped in black air. The screams were so severe that the three little ones stopped pulling the triggers. But Remy was not intimidated. It is now obvious that the boss is about to transform and enter the second stage. Reality is not a game, and it does not have a transformation and invincibility period. If not now, when? He pulled out his favorite family gun, raised it, aimed, and pulled the trigger. Bang! Boom! Quirrell's turban burst open instantly, revealing his shiny head and another face on the back of his head. His arms suddenly twisted strangely and covered the face behind his head. Ah! My nose! Nose! Remy what's going on? Hit it! It's bad enough that this idiot doesn't know how to hide, but he doesn't even defend himself? Are you being too arrogant because you think you can't die because of the Horcrux? Blinking, Remy didn't hesitate and pulled the trigger again. Bang! Avada eats big melon, boom! A dazzling green light instantly emitted from the wand in Quirrell's hand, disintegrating the bullet in just an instant, and continued to rush towards Remy without slowing down. Boom! Bang! The Barrett sniper rifle that Remy was holding in front of was instantly shattered, and Remy himself was blasted against the wall by the huge force. Although he was not injured, Remy looked very unhappy. Damn it! You little jerk! I remember I told you not to point the green light at me. I hate green light! Damn it! I told you not to call me a punk. I am the Dark Lord. The Dark Lord Voldemort. Avada eats big melon. Fainted. He raised his wand and thrust it forward. A bright white light that was more than 10 times brighter than Voldemort's green light came out from Remy's wand, and the two collided instantly. Despite the huge difference in size, the two beams of light actually fell into a brief stalemate after colliding. Countless lightning-like energies appeared, and Voldemort stared at Remy in shock with wide eyes. He couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe that Remy could actually wrestle with him, and even used such a crude and low-level magic as to make the ground faint. Damn it! I wanted to save some face for you by not defeating you with magic, but you little jerk really didn't know how to be ashamed. With a loud shout, Remy held the wand as if it were a gun and moved forward step by step. Voldemort came back to his senses from the shock. He slowly lowered the hand that was covering his face, revealing his sunken nose. His face was terribly dark. Call him a little punk again. And she said it so casually, and what's even more disgusting is that what she said later seemed like she was considering him. Would defeating him with Muggle weapons be saving his face? Not to mention defeating him with Muggle weapons, even injuring him would be a great humiliation for him. But he has been wounded. I will definitely kill you today. Even if I will kill you. Raising his hand and holding his wand slightly back, Voldemort stared at Remy intently, and then swung it vigorously. Avada eats a big melon, boom. The green light, which originally seemed very small compared to the white light, suddenly increased rapidly, from less than 1/5 of the white light to 1/3 of the white light. Squeak bang! Remy, who was pushed back a lot, stomped his feet hard to steady himself. Humph! Do you have the capital to compete with me in magical power? With a cold snort, Remy gripped the wand tightly with both hands and moved forward again with the wand. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. With every step, the color of the white light changed a little, gradually turning into a light sky blue. Continuing to move forward, when Remy had walked 1/3 of the way, the white light had completely turned into sky blue and began to turn into purple. Voldemort stared at Remy intently. At first there was shock in his eyes, but then they were completely filled with murderous intent and greed. He wanted to kill Remy, and even more wanted to obtain Remy's power. 10 steps, 15 steps, 20 steps. Remy approached Voldemort little by little, and when there was less than 2 meters between him and Voldemort, not only did the color of his wand turn purple, but his wand and his body were all covered with purple magic lightning. Even his eyes were filled with purple thunderstorms. Their eyes met for a moment, and suddenly, Remy raised his wand and let Voldemort's killing curse hit him. At the same time, Remy swung his wand vigorously. You make me faint on the ground. Bang. Boom. Chapter 93. When the wand gently stroked Voldemort's face, a huge amount of energy exploded instantly, and countless purple lightning instantly set off a thunderstorm in the hall. The wind was blowing hard and the purple snake was dancing wildly. The 3 little ones who were hiding behind the trench and looking at the hall through the gap swallowed their saliva subconsciously, staring blankly at the companion in the middle of the hall who was like a devil, both familiar and unfamiliar. In the corner of the hall, Dumbledore, who was observing from stealth with his wand in hand, had a gleam in his eyes. He didn't expect that Remy, who had just learned magic, could confront Voldemort head-on and win. Although Voldemort is weaker now than in his prime, and although Voldemort can move around and fight gorillas, how old is Remy? And Remy is using entry-level magic. Not to mention that Remy had wasted a lot of magic power when fighting Voldemort due to his lack of control. Dumbledore saw it clearly just now. When the two of them were fighting, Voldemort concentrated all his magic power in his hands and converted it into a killing curse through his wand to attack Remy. And Remy, there wasn't a single pore in his body that didn't ooze magic, especially when he was close to Voldemort, his whole body leaked magic like a sieve. But even so, Remy still won the direct confrontation with Voldemort. It seems I need to adjust my subsequent plans. Dumbledore thought. Remy can suppress Voldemort head-on now, let alone in the future. Why would he train Harry when Remy was around? Even if we haven't figured out why Voldemort won't die, and even if Remy can't kill Voldemort, as long as we keep beating Voldemort to death, he will eventually die after a few decades, right? If decades aren't enough, then hundreds of years will be enough. Remy is Nicholas Flamel's apprentice. The Philosopher's Stone will definitely be his in the future, and he can even create the Philosopher's Stone himself. Just as Dumbledore was imagining the future with a mysterious smile on his face, in the corner of the hall, black air emerged from Quirrell who was lying on the ground and gathered into a vague figure. He looked at Remy deeply, then turned into black gas and rushed into the wall and disappeared. Remy calmly looked at the place where Voldemort disappeared. He didn't know if it was an illusion, but he felt that the area between the shadow's eyes and mouth was a little sunken, which perfectly matched the area he had just hit with the stick. It's okay to be hit by an armor-piercing bullet, but he was actually hit by my knockout magic and still not in any serious trouble. This little jerk is really shameless. Dumbledore, who had just walked up to Remy, twitched his mouth when he heard Remy's mumbling. Your fainting is the most unlike magic I have ever seen in my life. I suggest you give it a new name and don't call it magic, said Dumbledore. What? Did it bring shame to magic? Remy raised an eyebrow and waved his wand. Did I use the wand to cast it? Did I use it to injure Voldemort? Dumbledore. Dumbledore sighed imperceptibly and patted Remy on the shoulder. Can you tell me what happened here? When I first arrived, I saw you hitting Professor Quirrell with a stick. Was it the black energy that controlled Professor Quirrell? Do you think it is Voldemort? My impression of Voldemort is that he doesn't look like that. Did you find any interesting evidence? Wand. Remy corrected. Also, I don't believe you just arrived. With a light snort, Remy turned around, his eyes suddenly lit up, and he ran happily towards the camera that was not damaged. It seems that they are not easy to fool, but these 3 should be fine. Looking at Harry and the other 2 who were walking towards him with their heads down and a guilty look on their faces, Dumbledore decided to get back at them. This carrot-and-stick approach not only affirmed the bravery of the 3, but also gave them a warning. Looking at the 3 people who nodded obediently, Dumbledore smiled with satisfaction. Remy, come here, I will take you to see the treasure you want to protect, the Philosopher's Stone that originally belonged to your teacher. Dumbledore said. Remy sat on the ground and waved his hands without looking up. I'm watching a movie now. I'm not going. I'm tired of watching that stuff. Dumbledore. I've only seen the Philosopher's Stone a few times, and you say you're tired of it. Is it so, Versailles? Okay, you three come with me. But I won't help you solve the last puzzle. You need to solve it on your own. Dumbledore said as he led the three people into the passage. No one paid any attention to the dead troll in the corner of the hall. Died silently. It wasn't even necessarily killed by Quirrell, because its body was all charred from being struck by lightning. It might have still been alive but was killed by lightning. Click. After removing the videotape and carefully checking it for damage, Remy breathed a sigh of relief and carefully put it into a box and put it away. This thing has other uses, and they are very useful. After taking a look at the trenches and the criminal evidence in the trenches, just when Remy was hesitating whether to destroy them to get rid of the evidence, Dumbledore had already returned with Harry and the others, laughing and talking happily. Dumbledore glanced at Remy, whose confusion was clearly written on her face, and Harry, who was nervous again, and pushed his glasses with a smile. The situation this time is special. I will not hold you responsible for violating school rules, said Dumbledore. Harry and the other two immediately breathed a sigh of relief and smiles appeared on their faces again. This violates more than just school rules. It seems you don't have the authority, Headmaster Dumbledore, Wivoo. Shut up. ×3. Covering Remy's mouth with his hands, Harry gave Dumbledore an awkward smile. Principal, is this matter completely over? Let's go back and rest first. Harry said. Well, it's really getting late. Go back and rest, if you can sleep. Dumbledore blinked and smiled, and his figure disappeared in an instant. Phew, I don't know who started it, but everyone breathed a sigh of relief, including Remy. Someone had covered his nose with his hand just now. After a while, they looked at each other and smiled at each other. Let's go back too. Remy said. Ronald pointed hesitantly at the trench, then these things. These have been exposed. Do you still want to take them away? Besides, they are just ordinary firearms. There is nothing to worry about. Remy said. Oh, yes. I remember you said you wanted to make magic guns, right? Then can you? That's for sure. I'll definitely let you play first when the time comes. It's a deal. Don't go back on your word. I'm looking forward to it. Chapter 94. After returning to the dormitory building, the four did not return to the dormitory immediately, but instead quietly shared their feelings about the adventure in the common room. Harry and the other two were full of praise for the guns and all of them approached Remy to pre-order their favorite models, hoping that Remy could manufacture the magic guns as soon as possible. Even Hermione felt the same way. Remy asked Harry about what happened during his detention. When he learned that he and Ronald were punished to enter the Forbidden Forest because of Hagrid's dragon and met a mysterious man, Remy realized that Dumbledore might not have put him in detention to prevent him from entering the Chamber of Secrets where the Philosopher's Stone was stored, but to prevent him from doing anything wrong and scaring away Voldemort. After chatting in the common room for more than half an hour, the four returned to the dormitory to rest. The next night, all the young wizards dressed up for the dinner in the hall and listened to Headmaster Dumbledore announce the final results of the previous year's House Cup. Surprisingly, Gryffindor still ranked first without Professor Snape having to fulfill his promise. But Remy still challenged Professor Snape at the last moment, making Professor Snape's face as black as the bottom of a pot, and allowing Gryffindor House to win the House Cup with a big lead. Slytherin House's winning streak was ended. The students of Slytherin House were very unhappy, but the students of the remaining three houses were happier than each other. There was constant laughter and joyful chatter. The food on the table went into the students' mouths one after another. Each of them looked like a starving ghost, as if there would be no next meal after this one. After the dinner, the students suddenly fell into an eerie silence. They returned to their dormitories to pack their luggage in silence, only occasionally talking to each other in low voices. Maybe it's because I said too much at the dinner party before. The next morning, everyone got up early, some of them said good morning to each other listlessly and some in high spirits, and then went to the restaurant to have breakfast together. The restaurant today was both extremely lively and deserted. There were a lot of people, all sitting in dormitories, but few people were talking. After breakfast, they returned to the dormitory and picked up their own luggage. They walked out of Hogwarts Castle silently with the others and headed to the station via the carriage outside the gate. When the whistle sounded, Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry slowly drove away, getting farther and farther away until it disappeared. Remember to write to me, okay? Otherwise I will be bored to death during the holidays. Harry said, if possible, I really don't want to go back to my aunt's house. Don't worry, I'll write to you as soon as I get home, Ronald said. Maybe you could give me the phone and I can call you, Hermione said. Forget it. If you call me, my aunt and uncle will scold me to death, and my cousin will definitely make trouble. It's better to write a letter. Harry said, looking at Remy. Since getting on the train, Remy has been staring out the window without saying a word. Remy, what's wrong with you? Harry asked. Ah? Nothing, I'm just thinking about something. I may not be able to write to you in the short term. I have to go to France first, and then maybe to the United States. I will be very busy in the short term. Remy said. Wow, you're going abroad? I really envy you. Ronald said. Remy smiled helplessly, what's there to envy? I'm not going on a trip. So what are you going to do? Hermione asked. There's something to do, something important. Remy said. Hermione pouted in dissatisfaction, thinking to herself, what's the difference between what you said and what you didn't say? How long will it take to come back? What you mentioned before about opening a store? Ronald asked. Everything is ready for opening the store. I will definitely open the store before the holiday is over, don't worry, said Remy. That's great. I'm really looking forward to how the Daily Prophet will report on you. I guess it will definitely be the front page headline. Ronald said. The Daily Prophet? Remy curled his lips subconsciously. He never had a good impression of the Daily Prophet and always thought that the Daily Prophet was a third-rate tabloid. Maybe it was influenced by the performance of some individual reporters. But it cannot be said to be an isolated case. After all, a newspaper is more than just reporters. If a reporter wants to publish an article, the content will definitely be reviewed by layers of editors. The fact that she could send out those messy things at least shows that there are quite a number of people within the Daily Prophet who are loyal fans of the shock department. Judging from the time, maybe they are the founders of a certain shock department. I took a nap on the train and when I woke up the train had already stopped. After saying goodbye to the three people, Remy pulled his suitcase along the platform and soon arrived at a cafe. There were not many people in the cafe, and Remy saw the white-haired old man at a glance, Nicholas Flamel. Teacher. Remy walked over and said. How is it, Remy? Have you gotten used to life at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry this year? Do you want to consider transferring schools? Nicholas Flamel asked with a smile. Don't consider it for now. Have you read the letter I wrote? Do you think it's feasible? Remy asked after complaining after sitting down. It's okay. Nicholas Flamel put down the cup. I have to see the specific content of the videotape you mentioned before I can make a final decision. Look, I've even made the projector. As he spoke, Remy took out a flat box with a screen and several buttons on it. When Remy pressed the red button above, the screen lit up and a video began to play on it. It's amazing. Muggle items always brighten my eyes and provide me with a lot of inspiration. To compliment, Nicholas Flamel squinted and watched the video carefully. No sound? Asked Nicholas Flamel. I forgot to install the radio. It was my mistake, said Remy. What a pity. But it should be enough. No one else can cast such a powerful killing curse except that person. As for you, I didn't expect that your strength has reached this level. Nicholas Flamel said. It's okay. I still know too few spells. Currently, the only trick I can use to attack is to make people fall unconscious. I haven't even learned the disarming spell. The teaching progress in school is too slow. Remy said. Oh? Then do you want to transfer? The teaching progress there is very fast. Nicholas Flamel said. Why do you keep thinking about this? Remy asked speechlessly. If you keep thinking about it, there will be a response. You said this, have you forgotten? Nicholas Flamel said with a smile, and he said it in Huxia. I haven't forgotten, but I kind of regret telling you this. Can you give me some special lessons during this holiday and teach me some powerful magic? Remy asked. Nicholas Flamel glanced at Remy and put the projector aside. He gracefully picked up the cup and took a sip of coffee, then nodded at Remy, and shook his head. Chapter 95. Whoosh! The space twisted and two figures, one old and one young, appeared outside a castle on the top of a mountain. I have to say, I hate operating for long distances, it's really cold here. A gust of cold wind blew by, and Remy, who was complaining, instantly got goosebumps all over his body. Just wait until you master it and get used to it. Nicholas Flamel said with a smile. Hearing this, Remy rolled his eyes immediately. I would like to, but if you don't teach me, where can I learn? Am I supposed to figure it out on my own? It's not impossible. Let's go, don't you want to see him? Said Nicholas Flamel. As soon as Nicholas Flamel finished speaking, the iron gate in front of them suddenly creaked open by itself, as if to welcome their arrival. The two looked at each other, straightened their clothes, and walked into the door together. They walked through the large square-like courtyard and arrived at the door. The door opened automatically and the two entered the castle unhindered. It was much warmer in the hall than outside. There was a fireplace burning on each side. The flames were not big, but the temperature was just right. On the sofa in the middle of the hall, an old man with white hair and wrinkled face was holding an enameled teapot and pouring tea. He poured 3 cups. What do you two want to see me, a prisoner? He asked. Hee, aren't you good at fortune-telling? Let's do the math. Remy chuckled and walked to the sofa next to the old man, sat down and asked. Haha, even though I don't want to admit it, I really can't see through you. I only saw you and this old guy coming, but I couldn't see what you were doing. The old man said with a smile. Yet. Remy picked up a cup of tea and handed it to Nicholas Flamel first, then picked up another cup and took a sip. I said I'm here to kill you, what are you going to do? Remy asked. On the opposite side, Nicholas Flamel shook his head helplessly, picked up the teacup and drank it by himself. The old man looked at Remy with an unchanged expression, quietly looking at him with deep eyes, without saying a word. Okay, stop looking at me like that. I feel a little scared when you stare at me like that. Remy said, let me introduce myself. My name is Remy Barrett. I am a student of Mr. Nicholas Flamel and I am currently studying at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Youth is a formidable thing. The old man nodded and stretched out his hand to shake Remy's hand. Gellert Grindelwald. Hey, let's be frank. I came here this time to invite you out. Don't you feel bored here alone? The magical world is changing a lot now. How about going out to play? Remy asked. Grindelwald was visibly stunned, as if he had never expected that Remy would come for such a thing. Ha, do you know what you are saying? I am a prisoner imprisoned here, said Grindelwald. What's the matter with prisoners or not? There are no guards here. If you want to leave, who can stop you? Remy asked. I promised someone that I would not go out again. Grindelwald shook his head and said, why? Didn't your teacher tell you this? Of course I told him, but I think that person needs your help now, he's having a hard time lately. Remy said. Grindelwald's eyes narrowed. What happened? I didn't see any major events in the newspaper recently. The current Dark Lord Voldemort is back, and his condition is a little weird. He can't be killed no matter how hard you try. Especially his shamelessness, he is super thick. Headmaster Dumbledore's hair has turned white because of him, even paler, and he has no appetite and is only focused on studying Voldemort. He seems to have lost his soul all day long. Remy said. Studying Voldemort without any appetite? Like losing your soul? For some reason, after hearing what Remy said, Grindelwald felt inexplicably blocked in his heart. So I was thinking, since it is said that only magic can defeat magic, then if you want to truly defeat the Dark Lord, right, it can only be done by another Dark Lord. Remy asked Grindelwald. Grindelwald looked into Remy's eyes for a long time, then he let out a sigh and shook his head. I have stopped asking about the affairs of the wizarding world a long time ago, and I am not qualified to ask. I believe he can handle it himself, said Grindelwald. Being able to cope is one thing, but how much time and cost is another. Although Headmaster Dumbledore is powerful, he is old after all. It is not certain whether he can hold on until that day. Remy drank his tea leisurely and glanced at Grindelwald, only to find that Grindelwald was also looking at him, which made Remy's heart skip a beat. This old fox, it seems my ability of talking is not enough to shake his heart. In that case. Oh, there's one more thing. Putting down the teacup, Remy took out a glove and a magic card from his pocket and handed them to Grindelwald. "This is a little invention of mine, you can try it," said Remy. "What's that little invention?" Grindelwald asked casually, picked up the gloves and put them on his hands, then, under Remy's guidance, he pinched the magic card between his index and middle fingers. Looking at the ball of light in his hand, Grindelwald frowned at first, then showed an interested expression. "That's interesting," Grindelwald said. "If this kind of card can seal some powerful magic, it can save some people who are not good at spells the trouble of learning spells, thereby improving the overall strength of the entire magic world." "You mentioned the entire wizarding world right away. It seems you haven't completely let it go," Remy said with a smile, "but I prepared this glove for the squibs. It allows them to cast spells. It will greatly improve the overall strength of the wizarding world." Grindelwald was stunned for a moment. He picked up the gloves he had just put down and held them in front of his eyes to examine them carefully, not missing any details inside and outside. Grindelwald saw more clearly than anyone else the significance of allowing squibs to cast magic to the wizarding world, and his eyes were always on the entire wizarding world. "If it can really do what you say, it will definitely be the greatest invention ever," Grindelwald said seriously. "Is this the greatest thing? It seems that your imagination is not that great, the first-generation Dark Lord." After making a joke, Remy took out another glove. This glove is similar in appearance and size to the previous glove, the only difference being a groove on the back of the hand area. As Grindelwald watched, Remy took out a red gem and placed it in the groove, then handed the glove to Grindelwald. "Try again, the operation method is the same," Remy said. This time Grindelwald hesitated before nodding. He put on the gloves and picked up the magic card. A ball of light lit up in his hand, illuminating his eyes which were wide open with shock. Chapter 96. The conflict between Muggles and wizards can be summed up in 5 words: envy, jealousy, and hatred. Because we don't understand, we fear; because we are jealous, we hate. And my invention allows Muggles to perform magic. In the future, I will invent truly great works that will allow Muggles to truly master magic. By then, wizards will only be the superiors that Muggles admire and yearn for. Not only can wizards walk among Muggles openly, but they will also receive the envy, admiration, and yearning of many Muggles. This glove is still just an experimental product and there is still some way to go before it can be put into mass production. I estimate that it will take 3 to 5 years to complete its mass production. Grindelwald held the magic gloves in his trembling hands, stroking them over and over again, nodding continuously as he listened to Remy's words. To let wizards no longer have to hide, this is the dream he has been striving for half his life and even broke up with Dumbledore. Now, this dream is in his hands. It's so close and so real. Okay. I look forward to that day. I will wait until that day," Grindelwald said in a trembling voice. "I'm afraid it's a bit difficult. I'm being targeted by Voldemort, that fanatical pureblood advocate. He wants to kill even half-blood wizards, let alone a Muggle-born mudblood like me." Before Remy finished speaking, a huge, cold and terrifying aura suddenly appeared from Grindelwald's body. Remy's expression remained unchanged, and he even had the leisure to drink tea. The same was true for Nicholas Flamel, who was sitting opposite Remy. He was not worried about Remy at all, and even had some expectations. "Voldemort, I will deal with him," Grindelwald said coldly. "He's not easy to deal with. Not even Headmaster Dumbledore can kill him completely," Remy said. "Then kill him a few more times," Grindelwald said. "Kill him once a day, and he will die eventually." Remy blinked and suddenly gave Grindelwald a thumbs up. "Great minds think alike. But Voldemort is a very sinister little jerk. I don't know where he is hiding now. But Headmaster Dumbledore has focused all his energy on Harry Potter, who somehow survived Voldemort's clutches. He seems to think that the key to breaking the deadlock lies in Harry Potter. So, I was wondering if I could ask you to come out of retirement and go to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry to protect me for a while. It just so happens that the Professor of Defense against the Dark Arts at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry changes every year, and you were once the Dark Lord. When it comes to understanding dark magic, who in this world can compare to you?" Remy said with a smile. There was another reason Remy didn't tell him, which was that he hated the other person who might come to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry to teach defense against the dark arts. That's right, that idiot Lockhart. To Hogwarts. Grindelwald was stunned for a moment, his aura disappeared instantly, and his brows were furrowed. "I am a prisoner. I am afraid I cannot. As long as you agree, I'll take care of the rest. Remy patted his chest. During this turbulent time, in order to eliminate potential risks, I will propose that the International Magic Court transfer you to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, and have you personally guarded by the greatest wizard of our time, Headmaster Dumbledore, to prevent Voldemort from seeking your cooperation. Anyway, you have always been hostile to Muggles, and even if you are in Hogwarts, you will not harm the students there. On the contrary, you may be influenced by the young wizards there, killing two birds with one stone. Voldemort wants me to join forces with him to fight Dumbledore? He's crazy, oh? Grindelwald, who was still a little confused after hearing Remy's words, reacted instantly. I see. That's a good reason, but Dumbledore won't agree, right? Grindelwald asked. Does it matter whether he agrees or not? He's just a small headmaster. As long as the Ministry of Magic agrees, he has to agree whether he agrees or not. Remy said. Ha 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 ha. That's right, who made him refuse to lead the magic world? Ha 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 ha. Grindelwald laughed, his laughter full of delight. Because I told you not to lead the wizarding world with me, this time, you will suffer your retribution. Go ahead, little one. I agree. Grindelwald said. Okay, your words are enough. I will go bribe the members of the International Magical Court and the Minister of Magic of the British Kingdom right away. You wait for my news. It will be done within a month. Remy stood up and said. Bribe? Good boy. Really, young and promising. Grindelwald nodded in appreciation, and his favorability towards Remy increased rapidly. No hurry, have some tea first. It's quite cold outside. Grindelwald said. Hey, okay. Sitting down again, the three of them drank tea and chatted, talking about the current situation and future of the wizarding world. The current situation of the wizarding world is mainly discussed by Nicholas Flamel, who knows more about the wizarding world than Remy. When it came to enjoying the future of the wizarding world, it became Remy's one-man show. He spoke eloquently and incessantly to the two of them about his ideas. Grindelwald and Nicholas Flamel listened with smiles on their faces, commenting from time to time, just like two old grandfathers listening to their own children talk about their dreams. Nico, you really found a good student. Even an old man like me who has long since resigned myself to being indifferent to worldly affairs is a little jealous. Grindelwald said as he saw the two out. You are not old in front of me. Nicholas Flamel said with a smile, besides, won't he be your student in a short time? Ha 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 ha, that's right. I'm really looking forward to that day. His expression will definitely be very interesting. You'll probably be surprised. We'll leave first and pick you up later. Good. After waving goodbye to Grindelwald, Nicholas Flamel took Remy's hand and operated away with Remy, leaving Nurmengard, the legendary prison that held only one person. After returning to Nicholas Flamel's home, the master and apprentice adjusted their plans for a few days. Nicholas Flamel provided information about the target of bribery, and Remy prepared the order and method of bribery. The preliminary preparations took nearly 2 weeks, and the master and apprentice began to travel around the world with gold galleons, rare potions, precious magic materials, almost lost magic books, and other things to please the enemy. Visit 1 or 2 today, visit 3 or 5 tomorrow, and conquer them one by one. A great harvest. What made Remy happy was not only that he conquered those congressmen, but also that he finally got used to the discomfort brought by apparition. Next is the Ministry of Magic of Britain. I really want to see the expression on Headmaster Dumbledore's face when he sees Senior Grindelwald. It will definitely be interesting, said Remy. Nicholas Flamel's heart moved. Do you know something? I know a lot. He he he. Chapter 97. He 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 he. Looking at Remy who was grinning wickedly, then at Grindelwald who was leisurely drinking tea, and then at the notification letter issued by the Ministry of Magic in his hand, Dumbledore's heart was like an overturned seasoning table, with mixed feelings. Phew, with a long sigh, Dumbledore walked over to Grindelwald and sat down. I think I need an explanation. Why did you leave Nurmengard? Have you forgotten what you promised me? Dumbledore asked. Grindelwald grinned, I am just a prisoner. Can I resist wherever the law enforcers want to put me? The corner of his eye twitched slightly, and Dumbledore turned to look at Remy. Remy, why did you do this? Do you know how dangerous he is to the wizarding world? Yes. Remy chuckled, pulled over a chair and sat down, leaning on the back of the chair and looking at the two of them happily. So when I learned that Senior Grindelwald didn't even have anyone to watch over him in Nurmengard, I was so scared that I couldn't sleep at night. After considering it over and over again, I think it would be safer to lock him up in Hogwarts and have you guard him personally to prevent Voldemort from joining forces with him, don't you think? Remy said. It's you, you big-headed ghost. Dumbledore glared at Remy. I will not agree to this. I will not allow him to stay in Hogwarts, let alone to be the Professor of Defense against the Dark Arts. I already have someone chosen. This is not up to you, a mere magic school principal. The Ministry of Magic has already made the decision, and you can only accept it. Or else you can go and campaign for the next Minister of Magic. Remy said. That's right, Albus, what can you decide as the headmaster of a magic school? Can you resist the decision made by the Ministry of Magic? Grindelwald said calmly. Dumbledore was speechless. He wanted to say something, but couldn't. Principal Dumbledore, there is a TV series in the Muggle world with a classic line that I think is great. If the people who should be in power don't hold power, then power will fall into the hands of those who shouldn't be in power. Remy stood up and stretched, shaking his neck. The current wizarding world is ruled by a group of people who shouldn't be in power, but it's not bad, at least they are in power and it helps me a lot. If a particularly upright person were in power, it would be hard for me to handle it. You two, take your time chatting. I have to get busy. As he spoke, Remy walked to the fireplace and sprinkled a handful of flow powder, then disappeared in the burst of flames, leaving Dumbledore and Grindelwald staring at each other. The two looked at each other for a long time. Grindelwald no longer had the complacency he had when Remy was present. He sighed deeply. If you really don't want to, you can arrange a house for me outside the castle, where I can live and teach, said Grindelwald. No, thanks. Dumbledore let out a long sigh and walked to the window to look out. Hogwarts, which had not yet started school, was deserted. There was no one in the square, not even a bird. You have really given me a big problem. With you at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, he probably won't dare to show up again. Dumbledore said. I don't have that ability. After all, I don't even have a wand. But that little guy Remy gave me a very interesting thing and told me a lot of interesting ideas. Grindelwald said. Really? Could you please tell me what you talked about? I'm really curious about how he convinced you to leave Nurmengard. Dumbledore said. Of course you can, my friend. On the other side, Remy, who had just left Hogwarts, stood in the fireplace and thought for a while, then grabbed a handful of flow powder and sprinkled it, but nothing happened this time. As expected, the fireplaces in Hogwarts are regulated. After verifying his guess, Remy walked out of the fireplace and came to an empty room. The dim room was a bit deserted, in stark contrast to the noise outside. This is his shop. The area is not large, only less than 200 square meters, but the location is very good. It is located on the corner, facing Gringotts, the only bank in the wizarding world. He bought this shop from the previous owner at a high price. Let's get started. Clean it up first, then make some partitions. Let me think about it. The area at the entrance will be used to display small toys such as magic gloves, and the area over there can be reserved for future magic guns. For now, it will be used as a tea room. The basement below can be expanded several more floors, and the deepest part can be used for experiments. While planning, Remy started cleaning the room. In the magical world, and having mastered magic, Remy of course has to use magic to clean the room. The wand spun around in Remy's hand and then was finally held in Remy's hand. Pointing his wand forward forcefully, Remy shouted. Clean it up. As the magic was cast, all the dust on the floor of the room disappeared, the spider webs on the beams disappeared, and even the beams were gone. Wait, the beams are gone? Remy was stunned for a moment. I'm boiling. Boom. The sudden collapse of the house scared the wizards passing by. Some of them hurriedly moved away, while others quickly drew their wands and pointed them at the collapsed shop. What's going on? What happens? I thought I heard a child's voice. Is this true? Could there be a child trapped inside? Hurry up and save them. Wingardium Leviosa. Back to normal. A hole. Stop it now. Your levitation spell has made my repair spell ineffective. You should stop. Are you good enough to repair the whole house? What if you lock the kid in the wall? Yes, let's all use the levitation spell to rescue the child first. The noisy crowd suddenly quieted down, and everyone who approached used the levitation spell to lift the debris into the air as best they could. Within a few seconds, all the debris was floating in the air, revealing Remy, who looked like he had a toothache. How embarrassing! Just a while ago, he had confronted Voldemort head-on and even defeated him with a stun spell. But not long after that, he was crushed by a collapsed house and needed help from others. And in full view of everyone. Child, don't just stand there, come out quickly. You're not hurt. Pay attention, I'll go over and take a look. Hearing the voices in the crowd, Remy came to his senses and hurried out. A large group of people immediately asked him about his well-being, while another group continued to wave their wands to repair the damaged house. But they failed every time they tried because the original beams had completely disappeared. Even if they repaired other parts, the house would still collapse. But their help made Remy feel warm in his heart. Chapter 98. If only magic can defeat magic, then naturally only the Dark Lord can defeat the Dark Lord. Although it may sound outrageous, it is indeed a very good reason. Especially after the panic in the Ministry of Magic caused by the video of Voldemort recorded with Muggle equipment, this reason seemed so reasonable. Because in the eyes of many people, Remy also has the potential to be a Dark Lord. After all, he blew up the Ministry of Magic, which is something that even the Dark Lords of all generations have never done. And just like Remy said in Nurmengard and Grindelwald, the Ministry of Magic also believes that although Grindelwald is dangerous, he is not dangerous to wizards, and can instead be a help in defeating Voldemort. By the way, you can also keep an eye on Remy, the unstable person, with Dumbledore. Coupled with Remy's financial offensive, Grindelwald was successfully transferred to Hogwarts for imprisonment, and was allowed to teach under the pseudonym Grindelwald. Of course his true identity cannot be revealed, otherwise it is hard to say what will happen to the students, but the parents will definitely protest. Remy didn't know how Grindelwald and Dumbledore got along, and she didn't want to find out. Maybe they went to a warehouse to bond again. Remy is more concerned about his shop. Since the store collapsed and could not be repaired, Remy simply invested more money to completely rebuild the store into a 3-story building. Unfortunately, he had too few products and could not even fill the first floor. The sales of the few products were not ideal, and Remy found that he had overestimated the number and purchasing power of the duds. Although the product caused a sensation in the entire wizarding world once it was launched, and although there were huge crowds of people in the first few days of opening, there were no returning customers after the first week, and now there are more reporters coming to interview him every day than customers. But Remy doesn't hate these reporters, because they all bought his products. Only those who bought his products can interview him, and each purchase can only allow a 10-minute interview. Faced with Remy, who is well versed in nonsense literature, the reporters are very angry, but in order to get the most explosive news, they can only keep paying money and resist the urge to beat Remy to death while listening to Remy's repetitive words. Basically, they can only ask 3 different questions in 10 minutes. Another week passed, and when the reporters left with spit, Remy's shop became completely deserted. In order to attract customers, Remy put most of the magic materials he bought last year on the shelves and sold them at the current market price. The vast majority of magic materials have depreciated in value, and many have even expired due to improper storage, but some have appreciated in value, especially the rare magic materials. Unfortunately, these rare magical materials are not easy to sell because there is very little demand for them in the magical world. Because there was no malicious bidding, Remy's behavior did not cause resentment from other merchants. Many store managers even came to ask him whether he wanted to purchase goods from them, offering preferential treatment for large quantities. He is very good at calculating. Remy agreed to their proposal and said he would eat as much as they wanted, but only mid to high-end ingredients. The public statement is that he wants to enter the high-end market, but in fact Remy's evil idea is to monopolize mid to high-end materials and then raise prices. Those store managers are not all fools. There was even one who kindly reminded Remy that the demand for mid to high-end materials was too low and he should be careful not to go bankrupt. Remy didn't care about this. First of all, he had enough funds, and secondly, if there was no demand, he couldn't create it. Consumers need education. If they are not educated, they don't know what they are missing. Remy has Voldemort, a fat sheep, in his hands. He has already made up his mind that once he has stockpiled enough goods, he will seek cooperation with the Ministry of Magic and let the Ministry of Magic purchase them in bulk from him. Remy was 200% sure that this plan would succeed, and he had even sounded out the Ministry of Magic officials about their opinions on magical firearms. The officials who had watched the video and had a certain understanding of the power of firearms all hinted that if Remy could really make magical firearms, they could consider purchasing some to enhance the Auror's combat effectiveness. They can accept magic firearms, so there is no reason why they wouldn't need rare magic materials used to make advanced potions and alchemical items. As long as you can survive this boring and lonely time, your future in making money will be bright. On this day, Remy had just received a batch of goods and transported them into the underground ice cellar for storage in different categories. Just as he came back and was about to open for business, he heard a knock on the door. When they opened the door, they saw Ronald's family, Harry, Hermione, and Hagrid. "Hello, rare guests. What would you like to buy?" Remy asked. "We can't afford what you have here," Ronald said. He had come to visit Remy before and helped to inventory the goods several times, so he knew very well what was in Remy's store. "Who said that? Can't you afford 3 magic cards for 1 sickle?" Remy said. "You profiteer, what do I need with something that only breaks after a month of use? If it's a complete version, I'll take every copy. I can definitely make a lot of money by reselling it," Ronald said. "Is this what you call a profiteer? You're surprised by something you haven't seen before. This is called planned scrapping. It's the truth about making money summed up by the top businessmen in the Muggle world." As he spoke, Remy invited several people into the store. Because there weren't many goods, even if the magic materials were included, they couldn't fill up all the shelves on the first floor, so Remy cleared out a large space to use as a rest area for drinking tea and chatting. "Your place is really nice, it feels more like a shop from the Muggle world, and it's much cleaner than the other shops in Diagon Alley," Harry said as he looked around the shop. "Of course, this is a high-end club, so the environment is naturally excellent," Remy said. "The environment is indeed okay, but the seat is a bit small." Hagrid said, "If you don't mind, can I cast an enlargement spell on it?" "No." Remy rolled his eyes. "Isn't there a big sofa over there? You can sit there." Hagrid looked at the large beige sofa, then at the small pink sofa he was sitting on, and decided not to change it. "By the way, Remy, when we passed by the bookstore just now, we heard someone named Lockhart say that he might very well go to Hogwarts to be the Professor of Defense against the Dark Arts this year. Do you know anything about this person? Is he powerful?" Harry asked. "Don't listen to his nonsense. He just submitted his resume for the job. The Professor of Defense against the Dark Arts has already been decided, and it's not him," Remy said. Mrs. Weasley's eyes widened instantly. "How could it be? How could Lockhart? I've told you before that Lockhart is unreliable, but you still didn't believe me. Do you believe it now? Every time he wants to sell a new book, he comes up with some nonsense gimmicks to attract people's attention. He's just a bookseller," Mr. Weasley said. "But..." Mrs. Weasley looked conflicted, and for a moment she could not accept the fact. Chapter 99. Mrs. Weasley was very confused, and Hermione stared with wide eyes in disbelief. But Remy didn't pay attention to them. His attention was now on Ronald's sister Ginny. His fiery gaze made the little girl blush. Ronald noticed something was wrong and coughed lightly. "Remy, how is the business in the store recently?" "It's okay, the compensation is not much." "Can you let me see the crucible?" Remy said. "Crucible?" Looking at the crucible and then at Remy's fiery gaze, Ronald finally realized that Remy had been looking at the crucible instead of Ginny. "What's so good about this crucible?" "It's old, and so are the books inside," Ronald said, handing the crucible to Remy. "I've recently fallen in love with antiques and old things that have a history." To explain, Remy took the crucible and pretended to observe it, then took out the books inside one by one and examined them carefully. Until he saw a notebook, Remy's eyes sparkled. "This is it. It's really here. Judging from the cover of this notebook, it must be several decades old. The inside is still so new, it's really rare. Can you give it to me? The price is negotiable," Remy asked while holding the notebook. Mr. Weasley frowned momentarily at the notebook in Remy's hand. "Ginny, I don't remember buying you this notebook. When did you put it into the crucible?" Mr. Weasley asked seriously. Ginny looked at the notebook in Remy's hand with a look of confusion in her eyes. "I don't know, I didn't take it," Ginny said quietly, shaking her head. "Ginny, it's not a good thing for a child to steal." It's even worse if you lie after that, said Mrs. Weasley. Ginny was suddenly anxious, tears almost flashing in her eyes. I'm not lying. I really didn't take it, I really don't know how it got into the crucible. Seeing Ginny like this, Mr. and Mrs. Weasley turned their eyes to Ronald at the same time, and Ronald suddenly panicked. Why are you looking at me? If I stole it, why would I give it to Ginny? Besides, even if I stole it, I would definitely steal something new. I don't like old things. Ronald said quickly. Mr. and Mrs. Weasley looked at each other and nodded at the same time, as if they agreed with what Ronald said, which made Ronald feel relieved. Then where did this notebook come from? Did it fall in there by itself? Harry asked curiously. Maybe. Hagrid took the small teacup and drank the tea in it in one gulp. There are so many books in Flourish and Blott's bookstore. Besides, when I passed by just now, I saw so many people inside. Maybe someone bumped into the bookshelf and it fell down. Mr. Weasley breathed a sigh of relief, nodded to Hagrid and then looked at Remy. That should be the case, Remy. I'm afraid I need to take this notebook to Flourish and Blott's to ask for the price first. I'll give it to you after I pay you the difference, said Mr. Weasley. If you ask about the price, won't that be exposed? Remy smiled slightly. It's okay, I know the manager of Flourish and Blott's bookstore very well, I can just give him the money directly later, there's no need to go through so much trouble. After saying that, Remy pointed to a shelf filled with magic books. Those high-level magic books are from Flourish and Blott's. Remy said. The magic books from Flourish and Blott's. Hermione frowned. Can they be sold? Flourish and Blott's is not far from here. They are just decorations to show off the store, and we don't expect them to be sold, Remy explained. Really? What kind of books are they? More than half of them are rare copies that no one wants, and they are basically only worth collecting. A unique copy? Hermione's eyes suddenly lit up. Can I see it? Hermione asked expectantly. Of course, you can go and watch it, you guys too, go and watch it if you are interested. Remy said. After getting Remy's consent, Hermione cheered and trotted towards the bookshelf, her light footsteps filled with joy. I just can't concentrate on reading. I always fall asleep when I do. Hagrid muttered as he poured himself another cup of tea. With his physique, even the teapot seemed a little small to be used as a teacup. I couldn't get into reading either. I didn't even read the covers of the books after I bought them, said Remy. Didn't you take inventory? Ronald asked while eating cake. Soul Bullet helped me sort the goods. Remy said. Oh, yes. Ronald's eyes suddenly lit up. Where's the Soul Bullet? Has it returned to Hogwarts? They are sorting goods in the underground ice cellar. That damn place is so cold that only it can move freely in it without feeling cold. Remy said. Is this true? What kind of creature is it? Ronald asked. Remy smiled mysteriously and did not answer Ronald's question. Magical creatures. Remy, do you know anything about house elves? Harry asked. I know. I've been thinking about buying a few to help run the store. What's the matter? Remy asked. A house elf found me during the holidays and intercepted the letters you wrote to me, so I didn't receive any of them. Harry said. Remy shook his head. I didn't write you a letter. Could you be mistaken? Maybe you didn't receive the letter because it was not intercepted. Harry. Don't break up when things are tough. Ronald wrote me a letter, and I saw it. That's not the point. The point is that it told me that I must not go to Hogwarts, otherwise. It sounded like I would be in danger. Harry said. Oh. Remy nodded calmly, so. I think this is a prank, so I want to find out who is playing a prank on me. Do you have anything that can help me catch the house elf? I have a feeling it will play a prank on me again, said Harry. Capture them regardless of life or death? Remy asked. I want to catch him alive and interrogate him clearly. Harry said. Remy shrugged. You should ask Hagrid. Hagrid is the master of magical beasts. No, I only know a limited number of magical creatures. I'm not an expert. Hagrid said cheerfully, but I haven't studied house elves, so I'm afraid I can't be of much help. Is there really no other way? Harry asked unwillingly. It's just a prank, why do you care so much? Remy raised the corner of his mouth slightly, and gently stroked the notebook he had just received with his fingers. As long as he had this notebook in his hands, the problems Harry encountered could only really be pranks. Don't think too much. Remy stood up and pointed to the clock on the wall. We should leave now. If we are any later, we will miss the train to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Oh, damn. It's already so late. Hermione, stop reading, we're going to be late. Remy, where are you going? I need to pack my things. You guys go ahead and don't have to wait for me. We'll see you at Hogwarts. Chapter 100. Woo. When the whistle sounded and the carriage shook, the train left King's Cross Station and headed towards Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Sitting alone in the carriage, Remy poured himself a cup of tea and put a magic crystal in it, setting it aside to enjoy later. He pulled out the notebook he had obtained earlier from Ginny's cauldron and laid it open on the table. Taking out a feather pen, Remy thought for a moment and wrote a sentence in his diary. Do you know how to gain powerful strength that is invincible in the world? In the diary, Voldemort, who had been waiting for who knows how long, felt someone writing and was immediately delighted. When he saw clearly what Remy had written, he was even more ecstatic. Want to gain powerful strength? Such people are the easiest to fool. Become my servant, boy. Voldemort gave a sinister smile and was about to answer when suddenly, another text came. I know. Voldemort. You know this and you're asking me? Are you kidding me? Do you know what it feels like to be invincible? Squeak, squeak, squeak. Looking at the new words in front of him, Voldemort gritted his teeth in anger. He always felt that this sentence was a mockery of him. I don't know, you know. Voldemort responded. Hey, UBD, can you talk? I just endured it. Yes, I am a thinking magic book, you can tell me anything you want to say. Voldemort replied. Then can you feel it? Can you feel the pain? Seeing this line of words, Voldemort suddenly had a bad feeling in his heart. Before he could reply, a large cup of hot tea was poured onto the diary. Voldemort was furious, but the next moment, he was stunned. This magic power. Such a huge amount of magic power. I actually feel that my strength has grown a little. What on earth is this thing? Could it be that this is the reason why this child is so powerful? Voldemort's eyes widened as he hurriedly asked Remy, but he suddenly realized that the diary had been closed and had not been cleaned before it was closed, causing him to feel wet and sticky all over and feel very uncomfortable. UBD. Just wait for me. Once I find out your secret, I will kill you. Voldemort thought with gritted teeth. In reality, Remy hurriedly closed the diary and looked at the three people at the door of the cubicle in astonishment. The three people also looked at him in astonishment. Harry? Ronald? Why are you two? Remy, why are you wearing Ravenclaw clothes? Harry asked. Ah? That's what you're talking about. Remy came back to his senses and touched the Lowenclaw College emblem on his clothes. I transferred to another college. This year I am a student of Ravenclaw College, so of course I have to wear the Ravenclaw College uniform. Remy said. Transferring to a college? Is it possible to transfer to a college in Hogwarts? How come I didn't know about this? Ronald asked. You can change your gender these days, so why is there such a fuss about changing colleges? Remy shrugged and said, by the way, why are you two here? You shouldn't. Never mind, just ignore what I said. Glancing at the notebook on the table, Remy suddenly felt that since the notebook was in his hands, it wouldn't be a big deal if Harry and Ronald's experience changed a little. Anyway, with him around, there's no need to count on the secret room incident this year. With just this notebook, there's absolutely no possibility of controlling him at all. It's a sign of its strong vitality and mental strength that it's not killed by itself. Why do you want to transfer colleges? Isn't Gryffindor College a good choice? Hermione asked with a puzzled look on her face. It's not that bad, but I plan to transfer to another hospital before I enrolled. With a slight smile, Remy asked the three people to come in and sit down first. After cleaning the table, he poured tea for them. It's a rare opportunity to get into Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. If you don't visit all 4 colleges during your study period, wouldn't you have a lot of regrets? Remy said. What regrets could there be? Aside from the different dormitories, don't the 4 major colleges usually have classes and go home together? Ronald asked. Different dormitories are already a big difference, right? I heard that Ravenclaw's dormitory has the best lighting, Hufflepuff's dormitory is closest to the kitchen, and Slytherin's dormitory can enjoy the scenery of the lake bottom. I plan to change a college every year, and change 4 colleges in 4 years. Remy said. Well, if you go to Slytherin College someday, remember to cause more trouble and deduct more points from them. It should be at least twice as much as you deducted from Gryffindor last year, otherwise it would be really mean. Ronald said. Come on, I gave more points to Gryffindor than I took away, right? Remy shook his head speechlessly. Who would have thought that the 3 of them were all stunned after hearing what he said? Oh, right? If you leave like this, won't you be giving extra points to Slytherin, no, to Ravenclaw House? Harry asked. Not necessarily. I have a lot of things to do this year. Remy said, I transferred to Ravenclaw Academy first because I value the learning atmosphere of Ravenclaw Academy. It saves me from playing around all day. What are you working on? New inventions? Hermione asked. I guess so. Now the original products in the store are too monotonous. This year I plan to add a few new products to really get the store up and running, said Remy. Magic gun? Is it a magic gun? Ronald asked hurriedly. No. Remy shook his head. Mass production of magic firearms is too troublesome. I plan to make some harmless toys to open up the student market first, and then put on the shelves a batch of amulets that specifically defend against ordinary firearms in the Muggle world to open up the adult wizard market. An amulet that protects against ordinary firearms? You must not cut corners on this kind of thing, or there will be big problems. Harry reminded with some concern. He was really afraid that Remy would make an amulet that would become scrapped after a period of time or a few uses. If it broke at a critical moment, it could be fatal. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. I plan to set up a time-based charging system. When there are 3 days left in usage, I'll send out crazy voice reminders. I will definitely not fail at the critical moment. Remy said. 3 people. Fake businessmen. A blatant profiteer. By the way, do you have any ideas? I mean in terms of toys, are there any toys you want to play with? Remy asked. Toys? I only like playing wizard chess. Ronald said. Are there any educational toys? The more difficult the better. Hermione said. Wizard chess completely meets your requirements. Ronald said. Oh, then other educational toys besides wizard chess. Hermione said. A puzzle? Wizard chess. Remy muttered to himself, and suddenly an idea came to his mind. He thought of something interesting.
If you're enjoying the story so far and want to hear the next parts, don't forget to like the video. It really helps the channel grow. And if you'd like me to continue the series, drop a comment below letting me know. Your feedback and support keep these audiobooks going strong. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.